Show's our fearless producers.
Gwen and Chris starts right now on 97.3 The Fan.
Hello and welcome into the Skraby Show here, filling in for Gwen and Chris on a Friday. It's July 5th. I hope everybody had a great July 4th because I know that I did absolutely nothing yesterday, and I loved every second of it. That's the beauty of, I guess, having a Thursday holiday, is that you don't have, I guess if you have to work on Friday, there is nothing wrong with just sitting around and doing nothing on a holiday, and I love it, love it, love it. I was trying to get my guy Lucky, my dog, I was trying to get him in the pool, but I remembered probably shouldn't put a guy with a big old sore on his face in the pool. But I just wanted to say, I'm blown away by everyone who has reached out about this whole Lucky thing. And if you didn't hear, Lucky got something called a hot spot, which I guess is a common thing for dogs, but I had never heard of that before in my life. And it basically is just an infection that grows and grows. And so I took him to the vet, spent a lot of money at the vet, but he's my little boy, so I got to. And he's doing better. So thank you to everybody who's reached out about him, and thanks to everyone who gave me some advice about how to deal with this going forward, because it was scary. I'm not going to lie. I thought this guy had flesh-eating bacteria on his face. And the reason I thought that is because I'm me, and that's what I do. I tend to go to the craziest sort of things that are going to happen, and someone's going to jump out of their car and murder me one night or something like that. I always think that way, but I need to start thinking a little bit, less scary, because all it was just a simple infection, and I got the cream. He's on his way to recovery. Now, I do want to say this. I hope, because our neighborhood last night sounded, I don't know where these people are getting the fireworks, but our neighborhood sounded like we were, for lack of a better term, ground zero for the fireworks shows, because it was in our neighborhood, actual real big fireworks being lit off. And if you have a dog, I hope that you hugged your dogs the entire time, because all of my dogs were going crazy. People, when you have fireworks, here I am 3 minutes into the show already on my soapbox. If you have fireworks, you gotta make sure you're doing it in places where dogs aren't going to run away. It's crazy. Nick was telling me, and Nick's here with me in studio today. By the way, I'm Matt Skraby. I should probably say that. This is Gwen and Chris. I'm filling in for them today. They are off. We are going to hear from Chris a little bit later. I'm not sure what time, but he has been so excited about this Torrey Pines golf day, and he just texted me his results. So we're going to try to get him on later in the show so he could tell us all about that. But Nick was telling me before the show that one of his friend's dogs, I can't actually remember.
It was just a story on Reddit. There was a guy in Orange County that had a German Shepherd had bit through a metal fence, but luckily they found the dog a few hours later. So
yeah, because he was scared. The dog was scared of the fireworks. But anyway, I'll get off my soapbox. We have a ton to do today. Like I said, we're going to be talking to Chris at some point. We're going to be talking for Friar Friday to relieving pitcher Stephen Kolek. He's going to be on the show, and after taking 2 of 3 from the defending champs this week, he must be feeling good. The team's got to be feeling good. So we're going to talk with him at 2:20. We're also going to talk about what are the Padres going to do when Xander Bogaerts gets back. And what about Luis Campusano? Because some of those questions right now have not really gone away. And they're getting stronger, as in, does Luis Campusano have a spot in this team anymore? So we'll talk about that. Also, Jesse Winker did something after their game yesterday that I have to bring up, because you're not allowed to celebrate according to Jesse Winker. But Jesse Winker loved his celebration. Let me tell you that. He did. We'll talk about that too. We'll also have all the other normal stuff for Gwen and Chris. We'll talk. The countdown today is top 5 things I thought I was wrong about the Padres, so we'll go over that. We're also going to have not a Chris versus the fans, but we're going to have a different type of game for you out there. I'm basically gonna give you 2 players, and you're gonna tell me who has the better stats of the 2 players, depending on if I ask you for their batting average or for their home runs. And so it's not as easy as you would think. MLB.com has a game section where you can go, and I was doing this last weekend, where you just keep selecting the guy with the better stats, and you keep moving on, and you keep scoring points, and it's a lot harder than you would think it is. So we'll see how that goes at 4 o'clock, and then Big Five at 4:35, 4:40, as we usually do. But let's get into it, and let's talk about the Padres. And the Padres, they've now won 11 of their past 14 games. And I'm seeing a lot of this on X, which I kind of appreciate, because I've come to know them as the Doomers have been out and about early in this season for the Padres. And it was, this team is done. This team's not going to make the playoffs. This team needs a new GM. This team needs a new manager. This team needs new hitting coaches. This team. And I have learned over the years, I cannot react to a baseball season after 60 games because so much changes throughout the year. Padres struggled to start. We know that. It was a roller coaster. As much as Mike Schultz doesn't want us to say it, it was a roller coaster. But that roller coaster right now is starting to get a little bit flat, which is a good thing. Or I guess I should say, if we're staying in the roller coaster example, the roller coaster is moving up, and it's still going up. And winning 11 of their past 14 games is something I think that I didn't fully expect, honestly, coming into the All-Star break, having the Padres being one of the hottest teams in baseball right now. And they absolutely are one of the hottest teams in baseball. You look at teams like the Yankees, which we'll get into the Yankees a little bit later. You look at teams like that, they have been bad lately, and they've lost a lot of games lately. And tells me baseball fans don't really change no matter what fan base you are, because they're already having a Fire Aaron Boone game scheduled for later this season. So we'll talk about that in the Big Five. But Jurickson Profar said yesterday something that has told me that he has cemented his role as the leader of this team, the vocal leader of this team, because this team has different leaders. They have, maybe silent leaders like Manny Machado, who does his leading by playing on the field, and maybe some, meetings with the pitcher when they need it. But Jurickson Profar is someone who stands up in front of his locker, says how much he loves this team, says how much he wants to go to war with them, and then says this, which tells me everything I need to know about what is happening in that clubhouse. Jurickson Profar, after the game yesterday, said, "Now we are here, and I don't expect anything less from this team. There is no going back. I will be mad at everybody if we don't play at this level." And he was talking about going forward. So the focus now, Profar's singular focus, now that he's gotten an all-star spot and he's going to be a starter in the all-star game, which yesterday he put on a display as to why he's an all-star again. But this tells me that this team, as much as they've struggled this year, they know they're right there. I mean, they are leading the wild card. They're at the top of the wild card right now. So they have teams that are looking up at them. And if they continue to keep winning like they are, winning series, not even just, putting together winning streaks, because I don't believe they've won 6 in a row yet in the season. But that doesn't matter. If you're winning series, you're piling up wins, and you're incrementally getting away from the 500 mark, which is what they're doing right now. And even though I said I wasn't going to look at the standings, I still really haven't looked at the standings. But they are now 4 games over 500, and they're continuing. And they showed us this week alone, this weekend, from Friday until yesterday, going to Boston, taking 2 of 3 from Boston, not even taking 2 of 3, dominating 2 of 3 games in Boston, and then heading over to Texas to take on the world champions, or the defending world champions, and taking 2 of 3 from them as well. Now, they lost those 2 in the middle right there, and we were all like, here we go again. Are they going to go and lose 5 in a row? No, they stopped the slide, and they got back on their winning ways, and I think that's huge, and I think that's a lot. It's very telling about the team. Nick, what do you got?
I agree. I think, when you look at it in totality, if they're going to take 2 or 3, 3 or 4, and lose a few in a row, it's not the worst thing. But it seems like when they go and lay an egg, they laid an egg, when was that, 2-3 days ago?
I wouldn't even call that laying an egg.
Well, they didn't score any runs. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, what did they lose to the Red Sox? 4-1 or something like that?
I think it was the Red Sox and the Rangers. They lost 7-0. the
Oh
first
yeah,
game.
yeah. I'm willing to throw that out.
But
Nathan Eovaldi was good.
They still
really
take
good.
that serious, and it's like, they have a tendency to bounce back when they don't play well. So that's a good sign for sure.
Yeah, we're seeing it now. We're absolutely
Right.
seeing it now. And Jurickson Profar is saying that there's no going back, and he's going to be mad at everybody. Tells me that I don't have anything to worry about in this clubhouse. Last year, I remember us talking about comments that Manny Machado made, or at least comments that were made about Manny Machado. And Kevin Acee wrote the article talking to different guys in the clubhouse. And there was no sense of a leadership structure within the clubhouse. But now that Jurickson Profar is here and he's playing as well as he is, it's really, 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 really easy to become the leader of a team when you're hitting 320 and you're hitting home runs all the time and you're throwing out guys from left field like you did to Garcia yesterday. Like, it's really easy to be a leader, but this is what he was born for. This is what Jurickson Profar was born for. He's continuing his magical season, and he's also really, really, really bothering people around baseball, which yesterday, I'm sure you've already heard it, but the Rangers broadcast, after Jurickson hit his home run late in the game, they were very upset with the trot he had, the home run trot. They were very, very, very upset with how long it took him to run around the bases. And it's like, why? Jurickson Profar is one of the nicest guys in baseball until you mess with him. And that's what I love about him. It's because he kind of is that guy that you could be friends with, but you never cross, because once you cross him, you are an enemy.
I think Will Smith started all this, right?
Oh, Will Smith definitely started by saying he was irrelevant, and then Jurickson Profar the next day hits almost a grand slam, but he hits it off the top of the fence. He clears the bases. That wasn't irrelevant. Being an all-star starter is not irrelevant. I don't think Will Smith is in the all-star game, so I keep talking trash to Jurickson Profar, please.
And just how he handled Washington. That was the game I actually worked that game. That was one of the funnest games I've ever worked, being in baseball for like 5 years. And you got to love how Machado stuck up for him. And you also got to love how Jurickson doesn't chirp. He just smiles and he's like, okay, I'm going to play now. And that's what he does.
Yeah.
And he does it really well.
You're right. He's kind of, I'm not comparing myself to Jurickson Profar in any other way other than the fact that I am really good at annoying people. And he kind of is like me in a way where he doesn't say much when there's like a brouhaha happening, but he will make that one comment that gets under your skin that sends you into the next millennia because you're so angry about it. And if Jurickson Profar is going to do that for our team and for our city, then I'm all for it. I want someone like that. I want someone who people know, all right, we can't mess with this guy. We can't mess with this team. And I don't think we've talked. We could talk 4 hours about Jurickson Profar and still not cover how important he is for this team this year. And the Padres, I actually tweeted something to the Padres yesterday, or at least replied to one of their tweets, and I said, Profar is the real sheriff. And they replied with El Patron, which means the boss in Spanish. I know a lot of people know what that means, but I just will say it anyway. I love that nickname for Jurickson Profar, El Patron. Let's just call him the boss going forward because he is awesome. We still have a ton to talk about. We need to go to break because we will have Stephen Kolek on the other side, but we're still going to be talking about Michael King and where he stands for the rest of the season. He had a good start yesterday. We still have to talk about why the Padres are playing better baseball. And I want to go over something with Jeremiah Estrada because he struggled, but there is a reason for that. I know a lot of you know the reason for that, but I want to discuss that a little bit. But when we get back here on Gwen and Chris, we are going to go into our Friar Friday, and we're going to talk to Padres relieving pitcher Stephen Kolek. So stay right there. We'll have him on the line when we get back on 97.3 The Fan. Welcome back into Gwynn and Chris. I am Matt Skraby, filling in for the guys today. Chris is going to join us a little bit later, I think, and tell us about his day at Torrey Pines. Tony Gwynn Jr. actually has a real weekend off. No radio duties for us. No Padres radio duties, so Tony will not be joining us today, and that's okay because he definitely deserves some time off. But right now, I am very excited and would like to bring on Stephen Kolek, Padres relieving pitcher here on Friar Friday. And Stephen, thank you so much for joining us today on July 5th, the day after July 4th, as everybody knows. Appreciate your time.
Hey, thank you for having me on.
Yeah, I just wanted to actually talk real quick first about your last series. You guys took 2 of 3 from the defending champs, but this series was actually for you personally much bigger because you are a Texas guy. You got to pitch in front of your family this week. I can't even imagine. What was that like to pitch in front of your family?
Oh man, it was a dream come true. I had probably 60 or so people come out over that weekend or those 3 days, and to have a lot of people from my hometown come up, and then all the people from my side of the family, and then my wife's side of the family that we've gotten so close with over the years since we've been together, and to have everybody there supporting me and just to be a part of it with me, it meant the world to me.
I'm sure it meant the world to you. 60 people is a lot of people to support you. Do you get a little nervous when your family was there? Like, I think I would be more comfortable without my family there, but do you pitch better when your family's in the stands watching?
It definitely brings a different edge to it because, you never want to disappoint them. And being that was the first time that a lot of them have gotten to see me in probably 10 years, from high school or maybe a little less time from college. But the first time they've gotten to really see me pitch professionally, is a lot of pressure and a lot of build up to it. So it's like definitely I feel the urge to perform more, but really it's just trying to calm the nerves and just get the job done and stay to the routine. Don't do anything too extra.
We're talking to Stephen Kolek right now, Padres relieving pitcher on 97.3 The Fan for Friar Friday, and you had a really, really great June. I think you only gave up 1 run in the month of June, and you were talking about stay with the routine, just do what you know what you're doing. But how do you keep doing that on a day in and day out basis? Because with success, for me at least, I tend to kind of fade out on doing everything I need to be doing to be successful. But how do you keep your focus on being successful each and every outing?
Really, kind of, I talk a lot about the routine, and that to me is everything. And it's not getting too far. It's not live or die. That if you don't do exactly your routine one day, you're gonna have a bad day. Like, you can have a bad routine day and still manage to get through it. But when you stack up those little victories of just kind of checks in the boxes of things you need to get done and stay true to yourself. You don't have to overdo it. Just stay true to that and surround yourself with good people. And that's what we have a lot of here is great teammates and people to help get you to where you need to be mentally and physically.
I want to talk about one of those great teammates right now. We're talking to Stephen Kolek right now for Friar Friday, and Jurickson Profar. He has been incredible for this team this year, and he has become somewhat of a de facto leader of the team. What kind of leader is Jurickson? What do we not see that we should know about him?
Jurickson, he's a great guy. I mean, he's so much fun to watch on the field, and he brings so much of that energy that y'all see on the field. He brings that in the locker room too. And when you see somebody having that kind of success, it just makes you want to work a little bit harder and follow his footsteps and try and be there with him. And then he's picking us up all the time, so you never want to let him down. So you just try and motivate you to be a little bit better every day.
What was that moment like for you as a clubhouse when Jurickson was announced as the starter for the National League team?
Yeah, I think it was no surprise to us. I mean, that guy, he's been killing it all year, and I think everybody would have been pretty upset if he wasn't. So everybody was extremely excited for him, and we gave him a big round of applause and many congratulations. So, again, super happy for the guy.
Yeah, we're talking to Stephen Kolek, and we want to get back to you, Stephen, because a few weeks ago, maybe even closer to a month ago, you were called into a game against the A's. Bases were loaded, nobody out. I was nervous sitting watching the game. I'm sure that you were doing your routine, but you got out of that inning without giving up a run. So my question to you is, like, when you're called upon to come into a game that has such a high leverage spot like you were in, how does you already told me it's all about the routine, it's all about staying within yourself, but what's your mindset coming into a situation like that, knowing that if you give up a run, it might end up losing the game?
Yeah, I mean, those thoughts are definitely easy to creep into the head, but really, I try and do my best to focus on that pitch right there. And I know the moment's huge. I know it's a big situation, but I sound like a broken record right
No,
now.
not at all.
But it's staying within yourself is for me, that's the key, is not letting myself get like overly excited or too down on myself. It's just trying to find that right amount of energy and focus that I need to have. And it's easy to get sped up in those situations, but if you know where that concentration level needs to be at, it's just executing that one pitch at a time, and thankfully we were able to get out of that unscathed.
Yeah, and we're talking to Stephen Kolek here, Padres relieving pitcher for the Friar Friday is what I'm trying to say here. And your team is playing really well right now. You guys just got back from a road trip where you won 2 series and you went 4-2. What is I don't want to ask what's changed, because I don't think necessarily anything's changed, but when you start winning, like, it's infectious, but what can you guys take from the role that you're on right now and try to continue that throughout the rest of the season?
Yeah, we're playing some great baseball right now, and I'd say we're pretty hot. And we've played some great competition, we've been up and we've been down, and still managed to find a way to come through to get a victory. So I think from that, it shows a lot of grit and determination to win amongst the team, and we know that we can in any situation. So it's just a matter of getting the job done.
Talking to Stephen Kolek. And last question for me, Stephen. Thank you so much for joining us here on Friday Friday. I know you got a lot going on down at the ballpark, but there's a lot of haters out there. There's a lot of people that want to see the Padres fail. There's a lot of people within baseball that want to see the Padres fail. But you guys are not listening to that. You guys are continuing to play your good stuff. But as a team, I'm sure that individually there's something different. But as a team, how do you guys block out the noise?
I think, we get so busy, like you said, we're busy here at the field all the time, and everybody, you go in the locker room, everybody's busy doing something with their own routines. And I think that's probably part of it, is if we just stay busy and you keep your head down and you keep working hard, and you start doing the little things, the rest of that background noise just kind of goes away. And before you know it, we're hot and we're playing well and looking to make a late season run here,
Oh, yeah, absolutely. You guys are definitely doing that right now. Well, thank you so much, Stephen, for joining us here on Friar Friday. I appreciate your time, and I wish you continued success with the Padres.
Thank you so much. Thanks for having me on again.
Of course. Thank you for joining us. I will be a fan of Stephen Kolek forever now for joining us here on 97.3 The Fan. Thank you for him. Thank you to the staff for putting that together and helping him get on the phone with me today. But Stephen Kolek's been a really, really important part of this team. We've seen him a lot this year. And I didn't necessarily want to ask him this, even though I kind of went down a route that I didn't want to go by saying if you give up a run, you're going to lose a game. But Stephen Kolek has a different type of pressure on him because he's a Rule 5 draft guy. And I learned this earlier this year. You are not able to be demoted to AAA or any other sort of minor league team when you are a Rule 5 draft guy. You have to be on the roster all season long, and that definitely, I think that's probably something that's comforting as well as terrifying at the same time. Because what happens if you're just not good and you have nowhere to go where you can refine your skills? But it takes a certain type of person, I think, to jump into that sort of role, and it takes a certain type of person to keep continuing to pitch even though things may not be great at the moment. Because I remember that Kansas City Royals game. Every pitcher has a bad game. Come on. We can't be like on that night. Yeah, we were kind of frustrated with Stephen Kolek, but since then he's only given up 1 run in the month of June, and I got to give him credit for that because it would be really difficult to be someone who gives up 5 runs and know that the fan base is just that, on top of you on social media, all this other stuff. But Stephen Kolek, he's done some pretty good things, like the A's getting out of that. He's come in tough situations where he needed to get outs, and he did. He's also come in situations where they're up by 9 runs. And, at times there have been some runs given up, but for the most part, Stephen Kolek has been really, really good for the Padres this year. And he's a important bullpen piece that we're going to continue to see all season long. So thanks again to Stephen Kolek for joining me on Friar Friday. I feel like the show is just flying by. Whenever I get to do this by myself, the big show, I feel like it just flies by. I feel like everything is, when I drive home, I'm like, what did I even talk about? Do I even want to listen to the podcast? How many people are telling me that I stink out there? But we are going to get back into the fun, because when we get back, I got to tell you about this Jesse Winker thing. And I got to tell you something about Nick DiNucci, who's in studio with me. I think you guys are going to probably like this more than the Jesse Winker stuff. But Nick did something there with Stephen Kolek that there's nothing wrong with it. But I have identified with it so many times in my radio career, and we're going to talk about it when we get back on 97.3 The Fan. Back here in the Odyssey Palace, Gwen and Chris. I'm Matt Skraby, filling in for the guys today. Thank you to Stephen Kolek for joining me. I always get nervous when I do interviews. I'm not going to lie. I'm not really a social person to begin with, but when I'm interviewing a baseball player too, a professional baseball player, a little bit nervous.
But it just means you care.
It does.
Yeah.
100%. Thank you, Nick DiNucci here.
It just means you care.
As Tony said, let me start that over. I've been misspeaking all day. Nick DiNucci here, pressing the ones and twos for us today. The guys will be back on Monday, and we're going to continue with this fun show that we got so far. And I would like to appreciate Rod. He says the dynamic duo is gelling, and that is Nick and myself.
Shout out Rod one time.
Yeah, well, not one time. Rod is always getting
always
the
here.
shout-outs.
Yeah,
Rod's one of the Scrabinators that is always in the chat. Same with M. McKee. I'm just going to stop naming people. Maria, because I don't want to make anybody... let's see. I don't want to make anybody mad that I left them out. Brandon says, surprised Tony isn't on the show since he's got the game anyways. You may have missed this, Brandon, but Tony is off for the entire weekend. So good for him. He is going to get some nice relaxation over the weekend. He deserves it. It's about over the midway point. If you don't know, Tony has an insane life schedule. And if you don't know, Tony doesn't get much time to himself anymore. So I'm glad that he's going to get these next couple days off. We are going to talk to Chris Ello later in the show about his foray into Torrey Pines South. He sent me a whole text about his results, and I don't necessarily believe what he said, but I know he wouldn't lie to me, so I should just believe it as well. All right. What did Nick do before we took the phone call from Stephen Kolek that I thought was hilarious? Well, here's here's a little behind the scenes. So people call in when we get our Padres players. For the most part, Padres PR finds them at the ballpark, calls us, hands them the phone when we're ready, and that's how we talk to them. But I remember when I was working way back when on a morning show on a different radio station. We used to have like the big timers of the Chargers call in. So we used to have Phillip Rivers call in. We used to have like Antonio Gates called in one time. And I was so nervous to talk to these people, even though I was just saying hello and I'll put you on the air. Or hello, let me put you on hold. Then you're going to be with the guys. Well, Nick now has answered 2 phone calls for us in the guest department. And it's hilarious to me every time because Nick goes into it, I think, you can tell us, Nick, in a second, but you go into it thinking, I'm going to answer this phone, I'm going to do it great, and I'm not going to be nervous about it. And then you answer the phone and things go a little haywire.
Yeah,
so
no, you
what
actually...
happened? What happens in your head? Do you get a little nervous or what?
I think you don't realize who you're talking to until you actually are talking to them. If that makes sense. You know what I mean?
Yes.
I remember when you guys had me called Buster only, and I just you just hear the voice, you're like, damn, this is the guy that's actually does the thing on ESPN, and it's like, wow. It's humbling, though, and it's cool, and I think, like for that call, it was JP answered for Steven, and then Steven answered. It's like, oh, this is actually a Major League Baseball pitcher, but
yeah,
it just means you care,
It does.
It's cool though. It's a humbling experience for sure.
It is, but it's hilarious to me because I was there so many times.
Right,
I remember
absolutely.
one time it was a bye week for the Chargers, and I picked up the phone and I asked Phillip Rivers because I thought this was like, I don't know, maybe 10 weeks into the year. So he had been calling every week. I had been answering every week. So he knows my voice to a certain extent. And so I decided I was going to chat with him. And I was going to ask him some questions about his bye week. What is he doing? What has he got planned? Is he going on vacation? And it wasn't Phillip Rivers' fault. He was just prepared to go on the show. He wasn't prepared to have a conversation with me. And I will never live it down with those guys because it was so hilarious that I was trying to have this conversation. I was so nervous that I was making every single time he called in weird from there on after because I apologized the next week. Anyway, I wanted to let everybody in on that because you may think working the board and radio is fun, and it is for sure. But it's also you got some time where you're a little bit nervous as well.
Definitely some nerve-wracking, stressful parts.
Oh yeah,
to go along with it. But that's kind of also the good part too, because you're only going to get better at it.
Yeah,
and you're only going to like learn more about yourself during that experience. So it's a humbling time for sure.
If you guys can't tell, Nick and I are kind of aligned in the way of like we learn from our life experiences. We like to look back on our life experiences. We like to analyze our life experiences, which is why Nick and I are probably similar in the way of, sorry, Nick, I'm going to lump you in here, a little bit neurotic. So
No, I don't. No offense taken, because it's accurate.
okay. All right. So the celebration that happened yesterday in the nation's capital, and I was not talking about the 4th of July fireworks, which I did see a whole documentary about yesterday, and it's very interesting how they do these fireworks. You should go look for a firework documentary. I don't remember the name of it. It was actually on CNN, but I was watching this thinking it was great. That's not what I'm talking about. What I'm talking about is Washington National Jesse Winker. You may remember him last week going into the stands trying to fight an older man. You may remember him being very upset with Jurickson Profar jogging around the bases slowly after he hit his grand slam. You may remember the walk-off. Everybody was really, really angry at Jurickson Profar for. But Jesse Winker said no one should ever, 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 ever celebrate like they did after a home run. Well, guess what? Yesterday, Jesse Winker hit the go-ahead home run in the 8th inning, and he put on a he put on a flag jacket, and he had a Uncle Sam hat. And he just continued to wear that for the rest of the game. And there's a picture of him in the Nationals ended up winning this game 1-0. Mets only got one hit in this one. So, Jesse Winker did hit the go-ahead game-winning home run, but it's really funny to me. It's very funny to see him standing there looking like Uncle Sam after he had such an issue with Jurickson Profar and what he did. You can't be calling out people. I try not to do this. I try not to call out people and then do something that I called them out for, which this is exactly what Jesse Winker's doing. He called out Jurickson Profar for having a celebration, and then he does the same thing where he's wearing this Uncle Sam getup and thinking he's really cool. And you know what, Jesse Winker? Next time you come to town, you're going to get a big old boo, I bet.
I have a little interesting tidbit. So my first time having a dump radio here or dump audio here was when Winker. It was that game where it got real chippy with the Nationals. What was that, like a week ago?
Yes.
And so he comes around the bases. He says, let's beat these MFers. Let's effing go. And granted, it was really early in the game. He just hit a 2-run shot, so his adrenaline's going. I give him that. But the response that the Padres gave was quite, especially the fact that Jurickson was the one to hit the grand slam that game after the little spat earlier in the game with the catcher. I forget his name. It was Ruiz.
David
right?
Ruiz,
yeah.
Yes.
And just the whole thing with Ruiz and Winker and the older gentleman before that went viral.
Mm-hmm.
It's like you shouldn't. Like, if you're going to trash talk that early in the game, you got to be careful about it, because now you're going to light a fire under all these guys' rear ends for the next, 7 innings?
Yeah.
6 innings. And so they're just the contradictory nature, though, like what you say, like he has the wig and
they put the wig on after they hit home runs.
Yeah, it's like they're getting upset about other people celebrating, but you guys need to look in the mirror just for a second. And it doesn't seem like they're quite as self-aware.
I don't think he
as
cares
they should
at all.
be.
I don't think he cares at all that he's going back on something he complained about a week before, which he probably shouldn't. But it doesn't mean that I don't have the right on the San Diego sports radio station to talk about him wearing the Uncle Sam get-up after he hit a home run and celebrated it like it was the last home run he ever hit. So, I get it. It's kind of cool. It's kind of cool to be in Washington, D.C. for the 4th of July. It's kind of cool to play for the Nationals on 4th of July, but it's not cool to call out a whole team for celebrating and then celebrate yourself.
Exactly. Just the hypercritical nature of it is quite evident.
Yes. I'm sorry, Eric. I forgot you when I was talking about all the great listeners. Eric also is a great listener as well. Same with Brandon and same with Dan. Reed said Winker's excuse is going to be that it was the 4th of July, which is a great excuse.
Fair enough. Also, go ahead. Sorry.
No.
I was just going to say, I do want to shout out all the regulars that are in the pre and post during Sam's show. You guys make this a very fun.
This is a Sam Levitt free zone, Nick. I don't know if you knew that, but Sam Levitt is my enemy for today because he's working so hard.
Some of the viewers got offended that I wasn't including them, that I gave Rod a shout out by name. So let it be known that you're all loved and appreciated. And if I don't name you singularly, then you're all still noted and appreciated very much.
Correct. If you want to join this little community we're building on YouTube, you can just go to YouTube, search 97.3 The Fan. You will find the live show right now. You can also go to Facebook. You can also go to X 97.3 The Fan SD as well. All right, before we get to the end of the hour, I wanted to talk about Xander Bogaerts and Luis Campusano and what are they going to do with these guys when they get back? Xander Bogaerts, he has actually begun his rehab assignment. He was in AAA El Paso yesterday, serving as the DH. He went 1 for 3 with a walk and a strikeout, and we know that he fractured his left shoulder during a game against the Braves in here it is right here, May 20th. He was, obviously he was struggling, but he was starting to find his way at the plate, and he was starting to inch that batting average up with each game. And so the injury to Xander Bogaerts came, I think, at a really bad time for him. But I also think that this could be a good thing for Xander Bogaerts because he could reset a little bit. He could try to, I don't know what they did during the time that he was hurt. Maybe he watches film. Maybe he goes in the cage and just kind of works on things that he can work on. But I think this is a really good thing for Xander Bogaerts that he I hate to say it, but he got injured because it's a way for him to rest up and be ready for the second half of the season. And I think this is what's going to happen. And it's not a crazy take by me at all. I mean, it's what they did in the beginning of the year. They're probably going to move Jake Cronenworth back to first. They're going to put Xander Bogaerts back at second, and they're going to move Luis Ariz to permanent DH. I think that's what they're going to do because it's the only thing that really makes sense. I mean, Luis Ariz, I love Luis Ariz. I do not love Luis Ariz's defense. That's what I do not love. And he never was a guy that was supposed to come over and be a defensive magician. But there have been times where Luis Ariz has cost the Padres because of his lack of being able to play defense. And that doesn't matter when you're getting a hit every time you're up and you're getting on base every time you're up. But there were so many people that were so excited about Xander Bogaerts getting injured that I actually couldn't believe it, A. And B, I was a little disenchanted with some of the people out there because this was a bad thing for the team. Now, I say that with the caveat they're winning more than they had all year right now, and they're winning more than they have all year without Yu Darvish, without Joe Musgrove, without Xander Bogaerts, and without, who am I forgetting? Fernando Tatis Jr., where they're doing all of this without their big four, and that's pretty incredible.
That is.
But when Xander Bogaerts gets back, I'm going to welcome him back into this lineup as soon as I can because I think that he is that much of a difference. Although his batting average in the beginning of the year, his slugging, his OPS, all that stuff wasn't up to par with what he's done in his career, I do think that inserting him back into the lineup is going to give this whole lineup another different look. And I don't think, maybe there was like a couple games where Luis Ariz was on the team with Xander Bogaerts while he was still active, but there haven't been many games that they've played together. So I really want to see what Xander Bogaerts and Luis Ariz can do in the lineup together. I know that Jake Cronenworth is a great second baseman, but he's too valuable to obviously take out of the lineup, but he's too valuable because he can play pretty much any position you want him to play in the infield. He can probably play any position you want in the outfield, maybe not center field.
I do have a quick question.
Yes, what's up?
Because I see Brandon and Dan, I think, in the chat. Let me just make sure I got the name right.
Don't worry about it.
Yeah, it was Brandon and Dan. I was wondering the same thing. What do you think they do with Solano? Because he's produced pretty effectively.
It's a great question. I think that Solano, here's a little preview of my countdown of top 5 things I was wrong about the Padres coming into the year. Donnie Barrels, yes.
Yes, he's been killing it.
I was wrong about him. He has been huge for this team. He's going to have to stay in the lineup. There's zero chance of him. The problem is, as you just asked, where are they going to put him?
Right.
And on certain days, I think, Manny's back into playing third base pretty much every single day at this point. He's not going to be DHing much, it doesn't seem like. And Donovan Solano has to be in this lineup right now. He's had too many clutch hits recently. He's drove in too many clutch runs recently. And out of the two, he and David Peralta I got to say that Donovan Solano is the one that's been better so far this year, but David Peralta just basically hit a game-winning home run a couple nights ago against the Rangers. That was huge. So, and I tweeted this out. I said, once again, once again, a veteran bench piece that AJ Preller brought in comes up with a clutch hit. And that's the biggest difference, I think, from between this year and last year, is that AJ Preller has brought in guys that are able to hit situationally and are able to slow the game down a little bit. And you see it with Donovan Solano. He works the count. And then David Peralta, same thing. And David Peralta hasn't had as much opportunity as Donovan Solano because Solano's just been in that lineup every single day. And so those guys are going to be fine, but you have to find a way to keep that Solano bat in the lineup. And it's a great question. I have no idea where they're going to play unless they tell Xander Bogaerts that, we're going to have you DH for a little bit until we put you back in the field. But it's, I just don't. This is a great question. I have no idea where they're going to put Solano.
I wonder.
And I need to think about this a little bit.
Peralta too, because obviously he's more of a bench piece for them right now. But he's been pretty effective. I feel like he's been quite worth the the while.
Yeah. David Peralta has definitely been worth the while. But I would say if they were going to make a roster move today, I don't know that they go with David Peralta, but I would say out of the two, Solano and Peralta, you're going with Solano on the roster. You're going to keep him there. And David Peralta might be put down into AAA or something like that. But there are so many questions up in the air, and this is a good thing for the Padres. This is the good thing for us to talk about.
It's a good problem to have.
It's a great problem to have. You have too many guys that are too good to get in the lineup. But I'm going to have to think about that Donovan Solano and where he plays, because that blows up my entire Luis Arraez DH theory. And it also, because he's mostly, I know he plays, you know what, before I go any further, I'm going to look up some stuff in the break, and then we're going to finish up this Donovan Solano talk. But we also need to talk about Luis Campusano, too. And we can do that on the other side, because Luis Campusano has been doing some work in the single A Lake Elsinore, for the single A Lake Elsinore Storm. He's moving his way back. I don't know what they're going to do with the catching situation. Brett Sullivan hasn't really had much of an opportunity as of late because Kyle Higashioka has been so good, but Luis Campusano is getting back into form. His thumb injury is healing, so we'll talk about that too as we go along. But if you have anything you wanted to say, or if you have any opinions on what we've talked about so far, please give us a call, 833-288-0973, 833-288-0973. When we get back, we are going to be talking about Luis Campusano. We're also going to go over some of the results of our daily gambit for the other day. And then our countdown at 3:40. Top 5 things I was wrong about the Padres. So I'm sure you all are looking forward to that. All of that is next on 97.3 The Fan.
Jr.
for your chance to win a pair.
The Fan.
Second hour of Gwynn and Chris, hosted by Mr. Matt Skraby here on 97.3 The Fan. We also got Nick DiNucci in studio, whose camera has turned towards the corner of the room. Thank you to everyone in the chat for continuing to talk about Donovan Solano, David Peralta, what's going on there. We do have a lineup, and I didn't tell Nick where the lineup sounder was, so I'm not going to hold him to it. But we do have a Padres lineup, and it's yellow, Nick. On the bottom left, it's yellow in one of the pages. And so I will say that both our guys, Solano and Peralta, are in there. And if Nick can't find it, don't worry. I'm going to get into this lineup. There we go. That's the lineup for you. You got... There it is. Nice job.
To my defense, I had Ben and Wood sound effects, not Gwynn and Chris drops.
Oh,
so.
Ben and Wood sound
Whoops.
effects. They got so many more sound effects than I do. Like, I look at their page sometimes, and I'm like, how does Paul even know where any of these things
Your
are?
description was on point, though. So good
Thank
looking.
you. I just know it was in the bottom left because sometimes
exactly
I have
where
to
it
tell
is.
people where it's at. But we got Luis Arraez leading off, playing first base. Jerickson Profar batting second, playing left field. Jake Cronenworth, second base, batting third. Manny Machado, third base, batting cleanup. Donovan Solano, DHing, batting fifth. Jackson Merrill in center field, batting sixth. David Peralta, right field, batting seventh. Hassan Kim at shortstop, batting eighth. Kyle Higashioka catching, batting ninth. And Randy Vasquez is going to be on the mound for the Padres tonight after, what is it, a week after he took that ball off of the forearm in Boston, where he was actually pitching really well in that game.
That's right. I was working that one, too, and I'm glad he's not too shook by that, because that looked really, really bad. It's one of those delayed things where you just, like, I can feel the surge of pain after, like, a second and a half to 2.5 seconds, shoots up into your brain, and you're just like, ooh, and
yeah.
you can't even stand up.
I can't remember what day it was last week, but I was randomly watching Blue Jays and Yankees, and Chris Bassett took an in the first inning, took an Aaron Judge line drive right off of his throwing forearm, and you could hear it through the TV. The announcers kind of jumped themselves when it happened, but Aaron Judge just laces this 102-mile-an-hour liner right at Chris Bassett's throwing arm. Hits him like right here, and if you're on the camera, you could see like mid-forearm down a little bit, and it immediately started swelling up. And so the coaches come out, and they're talking to him, and they have the camera on this thing, and you could see the seams starting to form on his arm. He stayed in the game. He ended up going 7 innings, so give him credit for that. I don't know how he did that, because it sounded like it was a broken arm. It also looked like it was a broken arm. But, they say pitching's fun until you get hit by a 102-mile-an-hour liner back at you by Aaron Judge. That would not be fun.
I think Corey Seager took one to the forearm in the Baltimore Orioles series last week,
and that's why he was out a little bit, right?
And I had a friend tell me, like, oh, he broke his arm, and I'm like, don't say it. Like, I had to look it up for myself. He didn't break his arm, but it looked pretty painful. It was similar to what you just described on the camera, where it just hits that kind of like the bony part of your arm.
Yeah,
and
like
it's
the bone of the forearm.
You could be a UFC fighter. You're not going to sit here and tell me that doesn't hurt like hell. It just does. And
oh, yeah.
Yeah, I give anyone credit. Even if you need a week off after that, I understand, because it is extremely painful.
Yeah, well, Chris Bassett didn't need a week off. He said, I only pitch once every 5 days. I'm going to continue pitching with this extra baseball that has been laced on my arm. That is some
right
hockey.
There.
I mean, you're playing in Toronto. You kind of have to be a little bit tougher with the hockey
point.
stuff.
You're already in there with all the hockey people.
Yeah, everybody wants you to play through your injuries. Everybody does. I have MLB TV. I don't know how many people just they have this one thing on MLB TV. It's called Big Inning, I think. It's their version of Red Zone, which It's obviously not as good just because not as much action is happening at all times in baseball. But B, they only have it on certain times. Like I want to see it on like a Saturday in the middle of the day. Anyway, that's not what we're talking about here. I was asking for people to call us about the Donovan Solano, David Peralta thing. We had a few suggestions in the chat, and I wanted to put this one up there because Ruben says it best. Last year, our bench was garbage. This year, it's so deep we can't decide who to start, which is, like Nick said last segment, a very, very good problem to have. And Ruben, a very good point there, because we are having trouble with finding someone to start or who to sit or who to throw in to AAA or anything like that. I don't think any of those guys are going to AAA. I also saw a little suggestion in the chat saying Donovan Solano should play some outfield, maybe even left field. And I went and looked at how many times he's played outfield in his career, and I don't know that he is set up to play outfield. He's played in left field. He's only played 10 games. He started 8 games in his career. He's played 445 games, and he's only played 10 of those in the outfield. So don't know that he's going to be going to the outfield, and I don't know that they want to remove Jurickson Profar from left field. He's patrolled, as Tony says, left field very well this year. He's also thrown out batters again. He did it yesterday, and I want to talk about this real quick because when guys get thrown out at home, specifically when Padres are thrown out at home, there's a couple of different thoughts that go through my head. Yesterday, it was when Solano got thrown out at home. And I was looking at the replay, and I know that the Padres have said this in the past, and Tony has said this in the past too, but when you're having a tough time getting anyone on base, and when you're having a tough time getting anyone to third, getting runners in scoring position, and you have an opportunity to do it, to go for home and get that run, you do it because you don't know when your next opportunity will be. But yesterday, I saw the whole thing happen in slow motion. I saw the ball go to left field. I saw the fielder pick up the ball and be in a throwing motion as Solano was just leaving the base. And I couldn't believe that they sent him. And now I'm not there. I don't have all the analytics. I don't know how good of an arm Wyatt Langford has. And I know that Wyatt Langford had some great plays yesterday. He robbed Kim of a home run early in the game when he jumped and caught that one that was going over the fence. But Wyatt Langford is, I guess what they're trying to do, and again, I do get it a little bit, they're trying to force him to make a play. And I don't know that yesterday was the day. It seemed like Wyatt Langford was playing some really good defense yesterday, and it seemed like, why should we test him with that? Why should we test him, and why should we send our guy home when we could keep him at third and, hopefully score some more runs later? But it's it's not a good look, and I know it's not about the look. It's about the thought process going into it. But it's not a good look when you're out at home by 4 or 5 steps, which Solano, poor guy, sees the ball, gets to the catcher before he even gets there, still tries to do something with it, slides in, didn't knock the ball out. He is out, and so I was talking to my friend about this, and they're furious. They're furious with the Padres when they send guys to home when, say, the left fielder already has the ball. They're furious with it. So I explained to them, well, would you rather take the chance or just leave him on third? And they said leave him on third. And I can't do that. I can't, especially when you're playing, when you're not getting on base to begin with in a game. I would like to see for them maybe a little bit less of an aggressive go when there's a guy at third. Maybe a little bit less aggressive.
It's definitely like situational.
Situational.
Yeah. You want to balance the aggression with a conservative approach and not be, not just sell runners off third and then you don't get any runs in.
Yeah, but how many times this year? Because I brought this also up to my friend. How many times this year did they send guys home and the throw was offline and it was a no play?
Right.
And they just score runs. Now, I did try to go look for that. There's no exact statistic that I could find on that.
It's a good question, though.
But there's more runs scored than runs lost by sending these guys. And the third base coach, he takes heat. But yesterday, if I'm Mike Schilt, I'm kind of questioning that one a little bit. Again, I'd rather him try to get someone home than strand him on third base and end the inning with nothing happening. Than I just want to see progress. I want to see aggressiveness, but just maybe a little less aggressive in situations like that. All right, Donovan Solano, we're back to him. He's not playing in the outfield. I'm sitting on the chat. People go crazy talking about why we're going to move Jake Cronenworth to the outfield, all this other stuff. This is why we don't get paid the big bucks. I don't think Jake Cronenworth is going to the outfield. I just don't think it. Why would you move him again? And personally, I think he would move if they asked him to move, but you want to keep your things are going well with the infield right now, and outside of a few interchangeable pieces here and there, you have your everyday squad, and that is a huge thing for the Padres, is that they know that their defense, their infield particularly, is going to be covered each and every day. And I don't want to move Jake Cronenworth to the outfield. I don't want to move Donovan Solano to the outfield. I think David Peralta, if anything, will probably be more of a DH. Hey, he can play the outfield, so that comes into play too when Donovan Solano can't really play the outfield. You got David Peralta, and then you got the whole lefty-righty pitching thing. But these are all, again, good problems to have. Very good problems we have. Anthony says, looking at the chat, this is why we don't get paid the big bucks. You're right, because I have some crazy theories as well, and I don't get paid the big bucks because I have no idea what I'm talking about. Oh, which, by the way, reminds me, I got a tweet earlier today that my new show is called something, and I want to share it with everyone because I think it's kind of funny. But my new show is going to be called The Glorified Padres Homer with Zero Baseball Knowledge Show. So that's what I woke up to this morning. So I hope everybody is enjoying the zero baseball knowledge that we got going on today. Nick, do we still have Lou on the line?
Yes, we do. We
All
also
right.
have Wayne.
We have, wait, what?
Wayne as well.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Let's go to Lou first. Lou, you're on 97.3 The Fan. You want to talk about this Donovan Solano, this lineup problem. Good problem to have. What are your thoughts?
Well, my thoughts are, you're right. Solano is one of their key hitters. You can't take him out. There is a solution that solves two problems. Let Cronenworth catch. He is caught in the past. At some point along the way, he has been a catcher. Let him be the catcher. That takes care of your catching problems and keeps Solano in the lineup.
I don't know that we have a catching problem. Do you think we do have a catching problem? I mean, Kyle Higashioka has been one of the best catchers in June.
He's been good recently, but he's still, low 200, maybe around 200. And as a matter of fact, earlier today on the show previous, they were talking about the catching being one of the problems that A.J. Preller will look at in the draft, and they're looking at the catcher from the Rockies. But in any event, moving with what they've got now, when Bogarts comes back, if you get Cronenworth to catch, you keep everybody in the lineup.
All right, thank you, Lou. I appreciate the outside the box thought there. I will say I never will be mad at his suggestion because it is thinking outside the box. I personally don't think that Jake Cronenworth is going to be moving to catcher, and if the Padres move. I really don't think he's going to be moving to catcher. But if the Padres say they got a wild hair and they did say they wanted to move Jake Cronenworth to catcher, what do you do with the other three guys? And I understand what you're saying about Kyle Higashioka. He is a 200 hitter. He had an incredible June, but he's kind of taken a step back from that here in the last couple games. And I just don't know that they can afford to put Jake Cronenworth at catcher. He's way too important in the infield for him to be beat up by things like that. And not to mention, I know that he has played catcher in the past. I don't know that he's ever played at the major league level. So that would be another thing that I think would be difficult for the Padres to do, putting Jake Cronenworth at catcher. There's already kind of a defensive, I guess, liability when certain catchers are in for the Padres. So I just don't think that's going to happen. But thank you for the phone call, Lou. It does certainly, if they did move Jake Cronenworth to catcher, it does certainly solve problems. I just don't think it's going to happen. Let's go to Wayne. Wayne is up next. Hello, Wayne. How are you doing today? What do you have to say?
Fantastic. How you guys doing?
Good. Thank you.
Just touch basis on what they're probably going to do. First and foremost, Ha-Seong Kim is a free agent. He's going to walk next year. He's not going to be on the Padres. Number one. Number two, Xander Bogaerts' defensive metrics last year as a shortstop, he was number 4 in all of baseball. So he was a pretty solid defensive shortstop. Number 3, Jake Cronenworth is a Gold Glove second baseman, and you're not going to take out the bat of Luis Ariz. So what you do is you put Kim on the bench, and you put Kim as a utility player, have him come sub in for Manny when he wants some rest, and everything else, and keep Donovan Solano as your DH because he's doing so darn well. So this is probably the direction they're going to go to keep all those bats in there. And plus the fact Xander Bogaerts plays really well offensively, as we know, when he's playing shortstop. He didn't adjust well to second base, and I don't think his confidence was there when he was at the plate when he was playing second. They signed him for a 10-year, $280 million contract as our shortstop. He's probably got a good 2 to 4 years left of him being a solid shortstop at the major league level before they bring up our hot youngster DeVries as a shortstop of the future, and then you can adjust your lineups, from then. But bottom line is, there's no way in the world that Kim is going to be on the Padres next year, and most people know this. And as a matter of fact, Kim is an outstanding defensive player, but his statistics batting wise this year is horrible. He's only batting .225. He's made more errors at shortstop this year than Tatis did when he was a shortstop. And he has a lot more spectacular plays, Tatis at shortstop. But what you're going to probably see is them doing what I was just talking about.
All right, thank you very much, Wayne. So Wayne's solution is to trade Kim, and we've definitely talked about this a lot on the show, and I know that I've talked a lot about this off the air as well with people. There's a couple thoughts that I have with Ha-Seong Kim, and actually there's a big 5 question that I wrote around Ha-Seong Kim, and the question is, so I'm going to leave a little bit on the table, but the question is, do you think Kim is still a good trade piece? Because along with, you got to think, along with Ha-Seong Kim not playing well and not hitting well, but by the way, his bat has come awake here in the last maybe week or so. I think he's hitting 9 of the last 11 games. Don't hold me to that. Something around those numbers. But I without answering the question that we're going to answer during the Big 5, I think it's going to be really hard to move Kim because you're not going to get what you want for him right now. And even though he's not hitting, he is a huge piece to this team because he's going to play every single game, and for the most part, he's going to give you really good defense. Yeah, he's made some pretty bad defensive plays this year, and there have been some there have been some times where Ha-Seong Kim has put the Padres in a bind because of the way he played defensively, and that's going to happen. That's not something that we saw a lot of leading up to this year. I personally think that the future of Ha-Seong Kim is on his mind, which is where am I going to be playing and how much am I going to make? I think Ha-Seong Kim loves the Padres. I think he loves the organization. I think he loves the fans. I think he loves his teammates. I think he loves AJ Preller. I think all of that is true. But money talks. And I just don't know I just don't know that sitting him is the best thing for the team right now. And I get what you're saying. You can't take Luis Ariz's bat up out of the lineup. You can't, and they won't. I think where it's going to go is you're going to have to choose between Donovan Solano and David Peralta for the lineup for that day. And I just don't see them ever taking Kim out and throwing him on the bench. I just don't see it. And although I think that he has struggled this year, I do think he's one of their better infielders, and he needs to be in there. And even though Kim hasn't had the average that we want to see from him, I do know that I was listening to Tony and Jesse yesterday, and they were talking about the bad luck that Ha-Seong Kim had all weekend long. I keep saying weekend. I have no idea. Blah, 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 blah. I have no idea what day it is because we took Thursday off. But Monday through Thursday or Tuesday through Thursday.
Yes, it was 2. You got it.
Thank you.
Yes,
Thank you. I'm all over the place.
No,
but,
it was a weird one with the July 4th game yesterday.
I just don't know that Kim is going anywhere. I really don't. I think the team loves him too much. And his value is not high enough to make it worth it, in my opinion. Now, I'm not saying anybody's wrong because, again, this is the Padres homer and doesn't know baseball show. So whenever I say something, you should remember that I don't know baseball show. And I just don't see it happening. Don't see it happening. But hey, I love, and I'm not saying Wayne's take was crazy. Lou's take was maybe not crazy, moving Cronenworth to catcher, but it was a little bit out there. I do love taking some of those takes because I am one to have crazy takes, and I like to let my imagination run wild. All right, we still haven't talked about Luis Campusano, but we will. I promise. We just got sidetracked. If you have anything you want to say, 833-288-0973, or you can go into the chat and you can just go to YouTube, search 97.3 The Fan, or Twitter, 97.3 The Fan SD. You can go there as well and watch. But we are rolling along here on Friday. I am Matt Skraby. I'm with Nick DiNucci, filling in for Gwen and Chris. When we get back, we'll talk a little Luis Campusano. I'm not sure if I'm going to do the Daily Gambit or leave it for Monday when Chris is back, but I also have to mention these fireworks that have gone crazy. Like, I don't know if anybody saw this stadium. I think it was where BYU plays football. But if you haven't heard this story, you need to because it's terrifying. And we'll get to it when we get back here. 97.3 The Fan. vibing on a Friday here. 97.3 The Fan. I'm not one to say vibing, actually. I can't. I mean, I could pull it off, but I'm too dorky to say vibing. Like vibes above replacement. That's something that listeners out there talk about all the time with Jerks and Profar. Now, I can get behind vibes above replacement. I think it's Divine Sports Gospel. Anyway. We are talking about the Padres. We are talking about things that are happening right now. The chat is talking about Joe Musgrove and his commercials that he has on TV, which I will say, those were all probably filmed in the winter. I mean, the commercials, the ones that I see, everybody has a jacket on all the time, unless he's next to the pool. But everybody has a jacket on all the time. The golf one especially looks like it's during the winter. But, I mean, why is everybody mad at Joe for making some money? Everybody loved Joe last year. I know that Joe's been on the, maybe 2 years ago. People still love Joe. No one, because he's doing commercials does not mean he's not rehabbing people. And I know it's fun to talk about because that's what people do. But, I mean, Joe's bought a lot of equity in this fan base for getting that no-hitter. Also, that performance against the Mets in the wild card. Who can forget that? What is it? Buck Showalter checking his ears for the sticky stuff.
I do like that about Joe. Just the way he just sold it and was just, not rubbing it in their face, but he was not being shy about it.
Yeah. It's really funny too that Brian Kenny doesn't bring up any of the other things that are happening around baseball, but he definitely brings up Joe Musgrove and his RPMs and all that. Even though Joe Musgrove was pitching in I'll say it, maybe the biggest game of his life. I think that's maybe why his RPMs are up a little bit. All right, let's finish up with some phone calls, and then we're going to go do the countdown in the next segment, which is top 5 things I was wrong about the Padres coming into the year. So let's go to Chris first. Chris, you're on 97.3 The Fan. What's up?
What's up, Skraby? How you doing, buddy?
Pretty good. How about you?
I'm doing well. I've been listening. You guys have been doing a pretty good job and talking about how to get this roster set up right. And you know what I was thinking? I think Xander might be the best option to trade. We'd have to eat some money on that, but let's face it, he doesn't look like he's getting any younger. That wrist that we know about, that's not going to get any better with his one-hand finish. That puts a lot of torque on it. He doesn't look fleet of foot. His arm's not great, but the East Coast doesn't watch us that much. And the East Coast teams probably remember Xander best when he was with Boston. His numbers looked all right last year. And I think we could trade him, and I think that could solve a lot of problems. We don't need Manny and Xander both aging at the same time. I mean, what are we going to do with these guys in 5 or 6 years when they both have 10 more years on a contract? I think you could eat some money with Xander. I think Seidler, at the time of this deal, had money for Trey Turner. We didn't get him. Next man up was Xander, and I don't think it's been, quite the fit we expected. He looks a lot older than what we need at shortstop. And I don't want to move Jake off second base. Jake is a different player at second. I love watching him play defense, and I can live with a Rise at first base. I'd rather sign a Rise to a long-term deal. And you're right. I mean, Solano needs at bats. So that's going to kill us if Xander comes back, Kim's in the lineup, Jake goes to first, or Rise is now the DH. We don't get Solano in the lineup. It seems a lot easier to maybe pull the wool over somebody's eyes on the East Coast and trade Xander. Maybe we might have to eat like $80 to $100 million, but I don't care. I'd rather do that. Maybe get a pitcher out of it, something.
Thank you, Chris, for the phone call. I mean, I agree with almost everything that you said there. I do, because the Xander Bogaerts contract is the most curious one for me because I quite honestly don't understand it. That's really all I could say is I don't understand the contract. However, I have no issues with putting Xander up on the trade block because obviously, as you said, I like what you said about him not being the fit that we thought he was going to be. That's a pretty accurate description of Xander Bogaerts for the Padres. The only thing that will keep him from being traded is that massive contract that he has. And you were saying maybe they eat $80 to $100 million. I'm thinking a team would want them to eat even more of that, maybe 125. Let me go see how much left he has on the contract, and I know it's a long time, but I don't see a team taking in Xander Bogaerts and paying him the money that the Padres have paid him already. I mean, I think Xander Bogaerts is a good dude. I think that he is a good clubhouse guy. I think that he's a good baseball player, but not for the amount of money that he's being paid. He signed an 11-year, $280 million contract, which means in 2033, when he is 40 years old, he is going to be making $25 million a year. Again, I'm not sure why they brought him in.
Especially for that length.
The length. Okay, so yes, the length is definitely one too, but I think that teams were getting boxed in to if they want a certain guy, they're going to have to just offer them this massively long contract because those guys wanted that job security. But at the same time, like $25 million a year, and you have a guy who's not hitting. You also have a guy who is, he's not a liability defensively, but he's not. I'm going to go back to what Chris said. He's not the fit that the Padres probably wanted or envisioned when he came to the team.
And just the fact that you already have a plethora of shortstops like Wazoo just out the woodwork.
That is true. I mean, you got Jackson Merrill, you got Ha-Seong Kim, you got Jake Cronenworth, you got Manny Machado, you got Fernando Tatis Jr., you got Xander Bogaerts, you got Leonidas DeVries, I think his name is.
Then if you start you throw in the farm system, there's a number of young dudes that are coming up that could play that position pretty effectively for much less financial, wear.
Ruben says, Skraby is so nice. He is trying to... it just scrolled up. He's really trying to let this caller down nicely. I'm not letting the caller down nicely. I think the trade idea is not going to happen because of the contract size. But I don't mind the idea of trading Xander Bogaerts because obviously there is a logjam in the infield and in lineup, and maybe they could salvage some sort of something from a team, giving them prospects or rebuilding the minor league system or giving them one major league ready guy. But that contract, I'm just looking at it on paper right now, and it's $25.454 million all the way down until 2033.
It is.
And that's
it is
scary.
Quite the number. And not that this matters.
Quite the number is right.
Coming from, used to work for the Orioles when they were a struggle bus of an organization. I'm talking like 2019 through 2021. And I'm just bringing that up because their payroll for an entire season was maybe like 150 million, 165 million. And when you look at Tatis, Machado, and Bogaerts combined, that's just short of $1 billion. Granted, you have them all for the rest of their careers, but it's like, wow, that's... No matter how you look at it, how much money you make, don't make, how much you know about sports, don't know about sports, that is a lot of risk associated with the production of all three of those players the next 10, 15 years, depending on the contract.
I think that Fernando's contract, when they gave it to him, I think that was the right move because
I agree,
because they needed to lock up a franchise player for the rest of his career. The Manny Machado contract, I don't have a problem with, although. I mean, he's coming back to form, and we're going to have to get used to he's already been here for 5 years, which is incredible to me. But we're going to have to just know Manny's a slow starter, and it's going to take a little while for him to get to steam. And when he gets to steam, he's very, very, very
it's
good.
It's better to be slow now than it is later.
Exactly.
We've seen him produce when it matters, and it's like that's kind of where the money is worth it for sure.
Yeah, I mean, yes, good way of saying that. The money is worth it when you produce when it matters, which is late season, which is playoffs, which is playoff runs, things of that nature. So, I mean, the Fernando contract is not as bad to me. And the Manny contract, although I know a lot of people hate that contract, I can only imagine if the Padres, I almost said the 49ers for some reason. The Padres, I can only imagine if they let Manny walk, how many fans would be disgruntled about letting Manny walk. Because he had that opt-out, and I believe he did opt out. I always get those details confused, but he should have opted out. He had a almost MVP season, and now he's getting back into form just now, really, in the last maybe 2-3 weeks. But I don't really have as much of a problem with that contract either. It's the Xander Bogaerts contract that I do have a problem with because I
agree with that one.
I don't know where he fits into the future. And it's unfortunate for Xander Bogaerts, but I think he'll be okay. And I really honestly hope Xander Bogaerts comes back and just is hitting the cover off the ball. which he's capable of doing. All right, we've gone way too late on this segment. We are going to get into some of this fireworks stuff soon. We're going to get into some of the rest of what we're going to talk about. Michael King. Still haven't talked about Luis Campusano, but this is all good. I like moving topics. I like how everything goes when we get some good phone calls, get some good things to think about. But when we get back, we are going to do the countdown, which is the top 5 things I was wrong about the Padres. I'm Matt Skraby with Nick Danucci here on 97.3 The Fan. We are about an hour and a half away from the laziest person on this station, Samuel Levitt. I don't know his middle name. I would have used it. I'm just going to, because he has the name Samuel, I feel like his middle name is Garfield for some reason. Samuel Garfield Levitt is going to be back on the airways. He was here from 6 to 10 a.m. I'm joking when I say anything bad about Samuel Garfield Levitt, which that is his new name in my head for the rest of time. So
I
sorry,
always like
Samuel.
Bartholomew as a arbitrary middle name.
Oh, okay.
Not that
all
that
right.
is Sam's middle name. I'm sure it's not. But just
Do you know
G's.
his middle name, Nick?
I don't know his middle name.
We're gonna have to figure out his middle name.
We will.
I know Chris's is Gordon. Mine's Thomas. What's yours, Nick?
I have an interesting one. It's my mother's maiden name. It's spelled Dallin. It's pronounced Dallin.
Dallin. Okay. I mean, I could get behind that. I feel like Garfield is the right one.
Garfield.
Sammy does seem like he loves lasagna. There's a lot of things going on there. All right. This is Gwyn and Chris. I am Matt Skraby. That's Nick Danucci. We're going to be I just got a text from Chris during the break. We're going to be talking to him at 4:20 about his day out at Torrey Pines. Right here, we're going to be doing the countdown. And if you love Mediterranean food, try Spiro's for authentic Mediterranean cuisine in Coronado or La Jolla. For dining or takeout options, visit spiroscuisine.com. I'm sure that's what Chris is doing right now. But we'll catch up with him at 4:20. And right now, you know what I didn't do? I didn't take down the commercial break screen. So while I'm doing that, we are going to end up going to the countdown.
Got to do traffic real quick, if that's right.
Traffic first.
Thank you.
From the 97.3 The Fan Traffic Center, here's Kelly Danick.
Not too bad of a ride around the county. Cordell and Cordell traffic cam shows a collision on eastbound 8 before 2nd Street. Does not appear to be blocking lanes. I'm Kelly Danick with Gwyn and Chris, San Diego's #1 sports station, 97.3 The Fan.
It's now time for Gwyn and Chris to rank their top 5 of the day.
Gonna grip and rip as usual.
But this isn't just a regular top 5 list.
I love it. It sounds sadistic, but I love it.
This is the countdown. And it starts right now on 97.3 The Fan.
All right. So I was trying to figure out a fun topic, but I've been kind of wanting to do this for a few weeks now, so this was the perfect time for it. And the countdown today is going to be top 5 things I was wrong about the Padres. And there are a couple you're going to know right off the gate. Right out the gate is what I was trying to say. If you listen to the Skraby Show, you know that there are 2 of those that I'm going to mention that you already know about, but there are some other ones I don't know that people necessarily know about. So Nick, you can hit the bed, and you could also hit the number 5.
Number 5.
And the first one that I was wrong about, the Padres, Donovan Solano, Donnie Barrels being as good as he's been. I remember I was slightly annoyed by everyone getting in my DMs telling me that Donovan Solano is going to save this team. They need Donnie Barrels. Donnie Barrels, Donnie Barrels, Donnie Barrels. And I looked at his stats. I thought, all right, this guy is a lot better than I thought he was, but I need to see it in action. I kept saying I don't think he's going to change the fortunes of this team. And him alone, Donovan Solano alone can't change the fortunes of this team, but he has been really, really, really good. Really good. And he's had some really clutch hits as of late all season long. Donovan Solano being as good as he is my number 5, because I didn't think he was going to be like this. So that's number 5. If you have any comments,
4.
Nick, jump in. My number 4 would be that the Juan Soto trade would hurt the Padres more than the Yankees. And I'm wrong about this because I think the Padres are kind of making... I'm coming up with really bad cliches today in my head, but I think the Padres are loving the trade on their end just because Juan Soto is not guaranteed to be Yankee after this year. The Padres gave up Trent Grisham, which he's hitting 165 right now, and yesterday, apparently, if you haven't seen this clip yet, there was a ball hit in the center field. It wasn't going to be caught for now anyway, but he was kind of slowly walking towards the ball, and then the ball jumped up on his mitt and then jumped up on his arm, and then he basically fumbled the ball I think it was Jamer Candelario went from first to second, got a double out of it, and many Yankees fans are mad about that. But Grisham, getting him out was a big win for the Padres. And knowing that you have Michael King and I'll even throw in Kyle Higashioka because he's been so important this year. Knowing, and then you got Randy Vasquez as well. Knowing that you have those guys for longer than just this season, like Juan Soto, I think that this trade is hurting the Yankees more than it's going to be hurting the Padres. Personally, I think Juan Soto is going to sign with whoever gives him the most money. And it's kind of crazy because in MLB The Show, I'm playing my little career. I got drafted by the stupid Rockies, which was like the last thing I wanted to be. I even asked for a trade after I was drafted in the game because I didn't want to be on the Rockies. Guess who signed Juan Soto? The Rockies. So Juan Soto is on my Rockies team, and he is hitting 220 right now, halfway through the season or something like that. The reason I bring that up is to say I think Juan Soto is going to take whoever gives him the most money. I don't think he wants anything else other than to be paid the most of any player in Major League Baseball. So I think that the Yankees are hurting a little bit more from this trade than the Padres are. And we will get to Michael King, and Michael King has been he's been great for the Padres this year. So Juan Soto trade would hurt more. It has not.
Number 3.
Now, number 3 is, I said all offseason long, in order to compete, they need to win, and they need to win early. And we all know how the first part of the season went, and it turns out they could start slow and figure out how to get in the playoffs. But I guess it wasn't true. I guess that they didn't need to they needed to get out the gate quick, and they didn't need to stack some wins early. They didn't do that, and they're still right there. So I definitely think that I was wrong about that. I didn't think that they had any real chance of hanging around throughout the season if they were going to do the whole 500 thing at the beginning of the season, but they're more than hanging around right now. They're firmly in a wild card spot, and they are also, don't look now, and I haven't looked at the standings in a little bit. Seriously looked at the standings, but they're creeping up on the Dodgers. The Dodgers have not had a good stretch here lately, and they're creeping up on the Dodgers, and I'm not going to say that they're going to catch them, but I will say that at a certain point, the Dodgers are going to start feeling that pressure, and I think it's soon if they keep losing the way that they have been. So that, in order to compete, they need to win and win early. That was something I was wrong about as well.
Number 2.
My number 2 was that I said Ha-Seong Kim may be an MVP candidate this year. Now, when I said that, I was already making ridiculous predictions anyway, so that is kind of a ridiculous prediction, but I was very wrong. I thought that he was going to have a much better season than he's had so far. I think that he's about to break out at the plate because he hit in the last like 9 or 11 of 13 games. He hit some balls pretty darn hard against the Rangers in that series, and as someone said on the chat, I'm sorry I can't really remember who said this, but they said if he had one more push-up, he gets that ball out of the park yesterday, and Wyatt Langford doesn't catch it. And that's right. I mean, Ha-Seong Kim, he's got that pop back. He's hitting the fastball. It just seems like, I feel, again, we've already talked about this, but I feel like Ha-Seong Kim is in his own head about the upcoming free agency that he's going to be looking at. And I don't think that he is worried about it, but I do think that he knows his play isn't going to give him the big payday that he may have wanted. So I don't think everybody, there's a lot of people in the chat that said, a lot of people in the chat are saying that they don't think he's going to be back with the team next year. I necessarily don't know that he's going to be back with the team, but I don't think it's that crazy to think that he's going to be back with the team. In fact, I think a less than satisfactory season from Ha-Seong Kim is a good thing for the Padres because it kind of gives them a little bit of bargaining power. But we'll see what happens in this free agency coming up here. But my number 2 would be Ha-Seong Kim being an MVP candidate, which saying it out loud now is kind of funny.
Number 1.
And my number 1 has to be Jurickson Profar being as good as he's been. I remember sitting here, and it was like January, right after they signed him for $1 million. And I said, do I love Jurickson Profar? Yes. I think he's a great dude. I think he's great for the clubhouse. Do I think that he's going to be an MVP for this team? Absolutely not. I think his best days are behind him. That's what I kept saying. And I was very wrong because Jurickson Profar is a starter in the all-star team. He's also continuing to win the Padres games by, hitting a home run yesterday, gunning down Garcia at the plate. He's having that magical year that I've talked about before. That sometimes in a long career, a 15, 16-year career, there's always that one season that was like their magical season. And Jurickson Profar is 100% having a magical season right now.
Especially if you look at his contract, too. That's amazing.
$1 million is nothing.
That's for the
what
production.
He's doing.
Exactly. Absolutely.
He's leading the team in a lot of the hitting categories. He's leading the team in vibes above replacement.
Right, and in the intangibles, the morale boost this guy gives, the permanent smile that's not fake. You got to love it.
And the annoying factor.
Absolutely.
The only people that are annoyed by Jurickson Profar are everyone outside of the San Diego Padres bubble. Everybody inside that San Diego Padres bubble loves Jurickson Profar because he's awesome. But if you're outside that bubble, he's annoying. All right, when we get back, we're going to be doing some trivia. I'm going to try. We'll see. 97.3 The Fan.
Padres, Diamondbacks.
and Chris are just getting started.
Sports talk it is.
Your hosts, Tony Gwynn Jr.
Do you want to be right or do you want to be happy?
and Chris Ello.
You can't kick a porpoise when it's down.
It's time to get you up to speed on all things sports.
Yes!
With plenty of nonsense in between.
Oh, look! Here comes our fearless producer!
Gwen and Chris starts right now on 97.3 The Fan.
Can't believe it. We're already halfway done with the show. We are having a good time talking Padres here. Day after 4th of July. I hope everybody had a good 4th of July. I know I did nothing, as I said earlier today, which was great. I will take that every time. Every single time. If I can do nothing, I will do nothing. And for everybody who is asking if Michael King is a free agent after this year, he is not. He has one more year of arbitration, and then he becomes a free agent. So it's kind of like Cease, where you get 2 years of Michael King, and you get 2 years of Dylan Cease. So Padres are going to have to make some decisions here next season on this pitching staff, or the next offseason on this pitching staff, but that's not what we're going to worry about right this moment. All right, if you wanted to play a sort of trivia, this is not Chris versus the Fans because Chris is not here, but if you do, give us a call, 833-288-0973, and you can get in line. You will be qualified for a trip to Rio Las Vegas, including a 2-night stay, dinner for two, and a day bed at the Rio pool. The Rio Las Vegas is back. New ownership, newly remodeled rooms, 4 sparkling new pools, and a brand new food hall. All ready for you now in your next Vegas escape. Beyond the expected, beyond the strip, beyond your wildest dreams. Rio Las Vegas, the rhythm of Vegas. Book now at RioLasVegas.com. I will say, legally, I won a bunch of money on a penny slot at the Rio one time. I love the penny slots. I know I'm not going to make much money off of them, but I still have a great time on the penny slots. It's really fun. I've won big on penny slots twice. And when I say big for a penny slot, like $250 is a huge win for a penny slot. Come on. Yeah, that was just my little addition to the Rio. So this game is going to go like this because it's not Christopher versus the Fans. I'm going to give you 2 players. Like, for example, I don't want to give the actual first one. I'm going to make up 2 players who had a better batting average, Babe Ruth or Lou Gehrig, for whatever season. So you this is all going to be about this season, but you're going to tell me who is the better of the 2. And that's how we're going to play this. You get 3 correct, you'll get the qualification to Las Vegas. Quite honestly, do not have any idea how this is going to go, but this is what we do on this show. We try new things and see if it works.
If you had one shot, one opportunity to take down the human almanac himself,
Howdy do.
now is your time.
Listen to me, this guy is dangerous.
Now is your opportunity to win a prize.
Well, I hope you know what you're in for.
Chris versus the Fans starts now on 97.3 The Fan.
I'm sorry to everybody on the chat. I forget the video every once in a while. You can still hear me, but I will make sure I get your video. All right, we've already explained what you're going to win. Here there are no rules, right? Basically, for this one, I was just about to read you the Chris vs. the Fans rules. Tell me I'm not a guy of routine without telling me I'm a guy of routine. When I'm basically Ron Burgundy. If you put it in front of me, I'm going to read it. Let's get to our first contestant. Again, if you get 3 of these in a row correct, you will win the qualification. So let's go to Christian first here. And Christian, how are you doing today?
I'm good, Skraby. How you doing, man?
I'm doing really well. Do you kind of understand the game a little bit? I'll give you a little bit of leeway on this first one, but it's pretty easy to understand once we get into it.
Yeah, I think so. We're just picking the player based on your
Yes.
question, right? You're going to give me 2 options?
Yep, correct. All right, here we go for question number 1. Who has a better batting average right now, Jurickson Profar or Shohei Ohtani?
Jurickson Profar.
Jurickson Profar is correct. He has 1 point higher. He's a 317. Shohei Ohtani's a 316. All right, let's move to number 2. Who has more home runs on the season, Shohei Ohtani or Christian Walker?
Go Shohei.
Shohei. That is correct. This might be a quicker game than I thought. All right. Here we go to our, let's see. I got to make this one a little bit more difficult because these are easier than I thought. Who has more triples this year? Anthony Volpe of the Yankees or Ellie De La Cruz of the Reds?
I'm going to go with Anthony.
You're going to go with Anthony Volpe?
Yep.
That is correct. So the game is over. Christian, you have won our qualification. Please hang on the line. That was exactly how it's supposed to go for Matt Skraby and his new games. That is the game. So, Christian, stay on the line, and we will get your information here shortly. Now I got to figure out what to talk about for the next six minutes, which is going to be not a big deal because I do have something to talk about. We need to talk about Michael King. Sorry to everyone for that game not going deep into the segment there. But anyway, we'll get back to Chris versus the fans here on Monday. By the way, Anthony Volpe has 7. Ellie De La Cruz has 6 triples. Ellie De La Cruz is awesome. I love him. He's got 42 stolen bases on the year. He has 14 more stolen bases than the guy in second, which is Bryce Torrey. And he's trying to go for, I was reading something earlier that he might be the first person since like the 90s to have 75 steals in a season, which last year I believe Ronald Acuna had 70 or 71, 73. I just looked it up, and he won the MVP because of it. But if Ellie De La Cruz has 75, that will be a whole new level of greatness for Ellie De La Cruz. I think Ellie De La Cruz is really fun to watch. I think he's an awesome baseball player. I think he needs time to develop, a little bit more time to develop. He does strike out a ton, but he does some really, really exciting things. He's only been caught 7 times stealing this year. Out of the in 42, he has stolen 42 bases, so only been caught 7 times. That's pretty good. Gotta say, Ellie De La Cruz, very, very fun to watch. If you're online right now, we've already given away the prize. I'm sorry. You can hang up because Christian just demolished my game. I thought that was going to be a little bit harder, I gotta say. And it may have been a little bit more difficult, but it went in Christian's direction, and I'm not mad at it. All right, real quick, Michael King. And then we're going to talk to Chris at 4:20 about his day at Torrey Pines. Michael King is 29 years old, so that is something I think the Padres are going to take into account as they look at the future with him. But Michael King, to me, just gets it. He understands what is being asked of him. He understands. He seems like he has a really good way of thinking about things. And he said after the game last night that he said, quote, "I knew coming into this year was going to be a year that I really tried to learn as much as I can about starting pitching and almost prove to myself that I can go that many innings and be a full-time workhorse. But there are a lot of things that I need to do right to be able to go that distance, go 180 innings, go 200 innings. Yesterday was his 18th start of 2024, and entering this year, his entire career, he had made 19 starts. So he's already made almost the same amount of starts as his entire career this year alone. And he went on to say in his conversation with Kevin Acee that if he wants to get to 180 innings or 200 innings, he really needs to stop with the 20 pitch innings, because yesterday he had some times when he was cruising, and then other times it would take him 22, 25 pitches to get out of the inning. And he was saying, like, it wasn't even that I was pitching bad. I would get ahead 0-2, and then I would try to make them chase, and they didn't chase, and so now I'm 3-2, and that just drives up the pitch count, and then they foul a few off, and now I've got 12 pitches on this guy, and it just is not going to help him get to the innings that he wants to. But it doesn't really seem like the Padres are going to have any innings limitation on Michael King. It doesn't seem like that because they're basically not really worried about his arm right now. And he is obviously going to pitch the most innings of his career this year, but this is what the Padres wanted from him when they went to go get him in the Juan Soto trade. They wanted a starter, which they got a starter, and they wanted a guy who wanted to start, which they got in Michael King. And he is he's a cerebral person, is what I was trying to look for earlier. He thinks about things. He thinks about why things happen. And I think that's pretty important. It tells you a lot about him. It tells you how much he cares about his pitching. And it also tells you how much he understands the game of baseball. And it also tells you that he knows that he has room for improvement. And I do love to see that from professional athletes. There have been guys here in town before who have said, I don't want to improve because I've played so long in this league, and why do I need to improve? I'm good. I'm fine. Michael King says, if I can improve, let me know. Bring it on. I want to improve. And Michael King this year, if you take away, if we're going to put up for MVP of the team among the pitching staff, the starting rotation, I would have to say Matt Waldron gets it first, but Michael King is right there because Michael King, A, has made all of his starts this year, and B, we've seen him pitch very well. If we go back to that Milwaukee game, he ended up taking the L, which is a bummer, but he had a no-hitter going into like the 6th inning or 7th inning. We saw him against the Dodgers here at home when Luis Ariza's first home game. He walked it off. He went toe-to-toe with Tyler Glasnow, and Michael King came out on top. I think he struck out 11 that night. We've seen him strike out guys in double digits at least 3 times this year, maybe even 4 times this year. And Michael King is, it seems like Michael King is going to work himself until he gets the results he wants. And I just reading all the things that I read, if you're not signed up for the Kevin Acey newsletter, I got to say you should sign up for the newsletter because it has a lot of awesome information, but it's also really good that they're not thinking about an inning limitation for Michael King. He came into this year as a starter. He's going to exit this year as a starter, and that just builds for next year. And I know we're looking at this year, and Michael King has been as advertised. I don't think anybody could really say, hey, Michael King has not been a good rotation piece for the Padres this year, mainly because the rotation pieces that they have and the rotation pieces that they were counting on, Joe Musgrove, Yu Darvish, are not there. And so these guys have had to step up. Matt Waldron steps up. Michael King steps up. Randy Vasquez stepping up. And I know I've been a little tough on Adam Major. He is getting better with each outing that he has. But as I said the other day, it has nothing to do with him. I'm just not really willing to watch him. I don't think I'm willing to have his growth be at the major league level. And I'm not making any of these decisions, but it seems like he would be better suited in AAA or AA right now. Maybe that's because they just don't have another guy that they trust starting for the team or put in the rotation. I think right now, if you go Matt Waldron, Michael King, telling me this before the year, I would have laughed at you and then punched you and ran away. But now you get to punch me in the face because it's true. Michael King, Matt Waldron leading this team right now. And the fact that Michael King wants to go almost 200 innings tells me that he's going to try his hardest to go 200 innings. And Michael King's start yesterday was, he also says it too, like he didn't want to come out of the game last night, but he had allowed, or, Mike Schilt gave him a little bit of leash and he wasn't able to shut it down. So they needed to remove him from the game. And he understands that. And like I said, he understands that he can't have multiple 12 pitch at bats in one inning, or else he'll never get to the number of innings that he wants. And Michael King can just build on that going forward. All right. When we get back, we are going to talk to Chris Ello about his time out at Torrey Pines. Now, he's very excited. He's texted me a few times about it. So we'll get all of the latest on how he played and what he thought of Torrey Pines South when we get back here on Gwen and Chris on 97.3 The Fan. back here in the 97.3 The Fan Studios. I mean, what's your name over there? That was so rude. What's your name over there? Nick is trying to get Chris on the line, but I'm not sure if he hung up on him or what. Oh, we're good. Okay.
I have Chris. Chris is prepared and ready.
All right. Now, I gotta say, since I'm holding the floor here right now, and Chris has no opportunity to butt in because he's on hold, I gotta say, my guy Chris was very nervous about this Torrey Pines outing that he had today. He was playing the South Course, and I want to know everything about it. So, Chris, you were texting me a little bit about it earlier. It sounds like you started on 17, which I immediately texted back a hater comment, and I said, "Oh, nice long par 4 to get you started." But tell us how it was. What's going on? How's your 4th of July?
Hello, Matt. I am
hello, Chris.
I am honored to be a guest on the Skraby Chronicles, first of all.
Oh, yeah. There's only been 2 in the history, and you're one of them.
There you go. It's almost the highlight of my day, but I have to tell you, the actual highlight was playing Torrey Pines for the first time. It turned out that I was much worried to do about nothing because I realized that I've played enough golf here in the last year or so that my game was okay, and I was able to relax and enjoy myself. It certainly did not hurt that on the second hole for me, which was 18, the iconic finishing hole,
Devlin's Billabong.
Yes, whatever it is, I had like magical 3 shots that put me 6 feet from a birdie.
Wow.
And I mean, honestly, yeah, Mark Ziegler was like stunned, and so was I. He was like, "I thought you weren't very good." I go, "I'm not," but I played that hole great. And unfortunately, I missed the putter. I would have had a birdie on 18, and that would have been kind of like a bucket list thing. But
yeah.
Once I got that, I kind of relaxed, and I hit a lot of good shots. My biggest problem was the fact that they have a lot of sand traps guarding those greens. And I found a lot of them. And that cost me maybe 7 or 8, shots on my score. And because honestly, and I'd tell you if it wasn't true, but honestly, I hit a lot of good shots that were, I think heading for the green that bounced a little awkwardly and ended up in the sand. I had that happen 3 or 4 times where I felt like I'd hit a really good shot and I was going to be putting for, par or birdie or something, and I ended up in the sand. So I was really excited. I had a lot of fun. I've never played there before. I want to thank Rick Schloss and everybody at the Junior World Golf Tournament for letting us come out. It was really fun. So,
yeah, why don't you actually?
That's all I can say.
Yeah, why don't you actually tell people like why you were invited out there, the Junior Golf Tournament and everything, because it is a good thing.
The Junior World Golf Tournament's been in San Diego for years and years, like going back to the 70s, the 60s even, and they bring these young kids from honestly all over the world, and it's really something remarkable to see. They have I think they have 4 or 5 age divisions now. They have a 15 through 18. They have a 13 and 14-year-old division, 11 and 12. They have, I believe, 8 through 10, and then they have 8 and under, or 6 and under even.
At Torrey South?
I honestly think there's a 6 and under category now. And, these kids play at all kinds of different courses all over San Diego, and it's next week, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday is the actual tournament. And Torrey Pines is where the oldest kids play. But you can catch some of this tournament pretty much throughout San Diego. I'm sure if you go on the website, you can go out and see some of these young kids play, and they're the best in the world. And they gave us a program, and in the program it's got the list of all of the winners. I thought the funniest winner of all was 1980 in the 10 and under category, Philip Mickelson.
Oh, I thought you were going to say Tiger.
Well, Tiger won 6 times. He won. He won a lot. He won
ridiculous.
Yes, right. He won in the youngest category. He won in the 11 to 12. He won the 13-14 one year, and then He won the 15 through 18 once, but Jason Day's name was on there.
Wow.
And yeah, there's a lot of, golfers, both men, and again, it's men and women. So, little young ladies are playing as well. And there were some recognizable names that have won on the ladies' side. So if you're a golf, fan, I think it's something you should, think about supporting. If you can get out, it's probably not very much money to get in and watch them play. And they play all over San Diego next Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. So that's why we were playing. And like I said, I was really worried about it because it was Torrey Pines, and I didn't think I was good enough to really, legitimately be out there. But I was. So that was kind of the highlight of the day. And I thank all of my golf coaches out there, from Matt Skraby all the way to my man Charlie Hoffman. Charlie should have told me one more thing, though, along with being in the fairway and hitting the center of the green. He should have told me to stay out of those sand traps.
Well, the one thing I will say about those sand traps is that they are PGA Tour quality sand traps. So they aren't like hitting off of concrete like we're used to hitting off of with the other golf courses that we play. You're actually hitting out of sand.
Yes, they were difficult to get out of. And, I think, being this is a PGA course, they place these sand traps very strategically. So, where you want to hit the ball, there's always a sand trap, in front of where you want to hit the ball. And, at least I'm going to say 3 or 4 times I hit a shot that I thought was headed right for the pin, right for the, the green. And it caught, a little grass and rolled back into the sand trap. And that happened 3 or 4 times to me. So I was a little unlucky, but that's part of the game. You gotta deal with that.
Did you reveal your true score yet?
97 was the score. Kirk Kenny kept score.
Wait, what? You broke 100?
Yeah, but I would say if I had to, to guess, he probably, helped us on 3 or 4 shots along the way. But yeah, he wrote down our score on every hole. I told him what I got. There was a couple of holes where I probably got a snowman, and he might have written a 7. So take it for what it's worth.
I don't mind. I don't mind that. I really don't. But I'm glad that you had a good time. It sounds like a great time. How was Kirk Kenny and Mark Ziegler? Were they pretty good?
Well, let's go to Mark Ziegler.
Yes.
Kirk and I are about the same. So, we were similar. But Mark Ziegler has, first, he's very good. He shoots in the low 80s. But his approach game was ridiculous. I honestly think he one-putted like 6 greens in a row.
Dang.
Because his approach shots were landing like 2 feet from the cup. I was starting to really get upset with him, but no, not really. He was really fun to play with, and if you hear him on our show, he's a really terrific guy. So he did well, and he brought a friend of his whose son is just going into college, and he's on the golf team. This kid shot 76, and he played the back tee. So,
oh my goodness!
Yeah, he was pretty fun to watch him play too. So
we're talking.
It was a great day.
We're talking to Chris Ello here. He's calling in on his day off. Thank you for doing that, Chris. He's telling us about his day at Torrey Pines. And so which tees did you play? The white, the green?
White.
Okay. Those aren't terrible tees, but if a high schooler is shooting 76 from the tips, that is ridiculous.
Yeah. Now, I'm sure you're aware of this. The pros, when they played like the U.S. Open and when they play Torrey Pines, they tee off from even further than that, right? Sometimes, not on all the holes, but on some of the holes.
On some,
I know,
of them,
I know, like on 16, the pros go over the canyon.
Yeah.
If you play as just a weekender, you don't have to go over the canyon, even if you're playing from the tips. But yeah, this kid was very good, and it was just so fun. And I'm going to tell you, Skraby, I got to work on my game in terms of hitting shots from the fairway, because I'm not used to being in the fairway as much as I was today.
You didn't use your rescue club?
I used it all day long. Are you kidding me? It was my savior all day, but every now and again I didn't hit it the way I wanted to. because I'm used to hitting my rescue club out of the short rough. I don't drive into the fairway very often, but today I was going into the fairway. It was like crazy. It was so fun.
That is fun. That is really fun.
Yeah. I recommend everybody get out there at least one time. It's got to be a bucket list thing to play Torrey Pines. And I don't want to overstate this, but when you're on the 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th hole,
yeah,
there's probably not a better view on a golf course in the world, except maybe Pebble Beach or something.
Oh, the ones with the cliff, yeah.
Those 3 or 4 holes that are right along the cliff, that's you have to take a moment to appreciate that you're out there.
Now, which hole was your most difficult hole? Because I was trying not to scare you, but number 12's the par 4 into the wind. It's like 450 yards towards the beach. I don't know how you did on that one, but
I believe that was a snowman. But I think it was because I hit into the sand. I hit 2 good shots on that hole, but the 3rd hole you still had a long way to go because you're into the wind, and I ended up lipping into the sand. So
don't be too hard on yourself, because that's like every year one of the hardest par 4s on the PGA Tour. So you can't be too tough on yourself.
Yeah, I remember Ziegler told us on that hole. He said this should be a par 5, even though it's a par 4. So
it actually
I was not.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
he's right.
Yeah, I was not hard on myself. I was not hard on myself on any hole. I was so happy to be out there playing and having a good time, and getting that opportunity. And you bring this up all the time, but it really is true when you're out there at Torrey Pines. There's no other sport, that us, amateurs can feel like a professional for one day, other than golf.
Yeah.
Right? I'm never gonna stand in the batter's box at Petco and take a swing, and I'm very unlikely to shoot a 3-pointer at the Crypto.com arena during a basketball game.
You're very unlikely. Not like it's not going to happen.
It's really not going to. I'm not going to. I'm very doubtful I'll get to hit a ground stroke on the center court at Wimbledon.
Yeah.
But you can hit a shot from the fairway at Torrey Pines. So it's something that's a lot of fun. How about those Padres, by the way?
Yeah, I was going to ask you before you got out of here.
Are you happy today before I get out of here?
Yeah, go for the Padres. Talk about it. I mean, they went 4-2 on the road trip. They're looking good. They're coming home to play a pretty important series against the Diamondbacks. What are your thoughts, Chris?
Did somebody tell me that they're only 6.5 games behind the Dodgers now?
See, I'm not looking at the standings, but I did know that they're creeping up under 8 at least. So I will go look at the standings to confirm that they're 6.5 games.
Yes, they are creeping up on the Dodgers. Look, that might be a long shot, but look, what Mike Schilt has preached to us and what Manny Machado has preached to all of us all season long is, it's a long, grind, and, you just got to play and hang in there, and then, hit one big hot streak. And that's really what they've done. And now they're sitting pretty, but this homestand, 8 games before the All-Star break, if they can have a winning homestand here, they're going to be cruising toward the second half. So yeah, it's exciting, but how are they doing it? They're doing it with mirrors. They have their 2 top pitchers are out. They have 2, star players that make $300 million both out of the lineup. They have, their starting catcher is finally coming back active tonight. And all of these guys, from Profar to Higashioka to Merrill to whoever it might be, David Peralta the other night won the ball game.
Yep.
They're all getting it done. So it's starting to turn into a fun season.
It is. I mean, yes, it was a little rough there in the beginning. I know that we all were taking it very hard because of last year, but it is starting to become a pretty fun season. Now, here's the topic of conversation today. Is Xander Bogaerts made a rehab start, and so he's going to be back with the team shortly. Where does he fit in this lineup? You can't take out Arise. You can't take out Donovan Solano. Where does Xander Bogaerts go when he comes back?
You're going to have to take out Donovan Solano.
No.
I mean, you're going to have to. I mean, Manny's going to have to start playing third base regularly. And Kim and, as Rise is going to have to go back to be the DH.
All right.
They're not gonna put Bogarts on the bench.
No. He's got too much money riding on it.
No, and they're far superior with Jake at first base. And the only thing you might, and this is, no, it's a pipe dream, but I think maybe you could play Jake or Xander at shortstop a few games and give Kim a little time off if you want to give Solano some games. But I don't see how you can play it any other way than to send Solano to the bench.
That hurts. But like you said, there's other ways to get his bat in the lineup. So.
Oh, he'll get in there from time to time, but I don't think it'll be a regular thing.
You know what? I haven't even thought about that. I was like, you can't take out Donovan Solano, but that does make sense. And David Peralta is going to have to fight for time as well. So we'll see.
Yeah.
We'll see.
All right. Well, let's enjoy the weekend. Everybody, I hope, had a good 4th of July. And be nice to Skraby during the Chronicles, because I won't be nice to him when we come back on Monday.
All right, I'm ready for it, Chris. I'm ready for it.
All right.
And seriously, thank you for the phone call, and also great job on Torrey. I will say it live on the air so everybody knows that I am nice to you every once in a while.
Yeah, no, glad you had a good round.
Thank you so much. You helped more than you know.
All right, and the chat says hi. They've been begging me on this call to say hi to you,
Many
so they
hellos
want to
you.
tell you hi.
Oh, thank you, guys. Well, hi to everybody out there. Have a great weekend, and go Padres. I'll see everybody Monday at 2:00 sharp.
All right. Thank you so much, Chris. And with that, we are going to head to break because we got a short Big Five when we get back. Thanks to Chris for joining us, and we'll be back shortly. 97.3 The Fan. see. Oh my gosh. Gush? Did I say oh my gosh? I think I said oh my gosh. My microphone is like all twisted up right now. I got to twist it a little bit. Anyway, thank you to Chris L for joining us here in the last segment. This hour on 97.3 The Fan is brought to you by The Farmer's Dog. Fresh, human-grade dog food from a healthier weight to more energy. When you switch your dog's food to The Farmer's Dog, the effects can feel magical. What sorcery is this? None at all. It's just real dog food made for the health of dogs. Get 50% off your first box at thefarmersdog.com/radio. The what sorcery is this gets me every time. I try to pose the question and then I just get no answers ever. So it's like I'm asking no one. Back inside, not the Skraby Show, filling in for Gwen and Chris here on 97.3 The Fan. And I would like to point out something that Maria said in the chat. It's 124 degrees in Palm Springs right now. I was also looking at a different... Now... I'm going to out myself.
Way too hot.
Way too hot.
Way too hot.
I'm going to out myself as another nerd part of my life, but I love weather stuff. Love it. And crazy stuff like this, like hot weather. I mean, obviously don't love to be a part of it, but I like to look at it around the country, see what's going on. 124 degrees in Palm Springs is pretty ridiculous. I was also seeing that Death Valley, where I have been before, is going to be like 133 degrees for the next 6 days or something like that.
Death Valley.
Death
is in the name.
Death Valley is definitely in the name. And so what I'm telling everybody is stay cool. Make sure you're drinking a lot of water. You would have put 25-year-old me in front of this microphone, I would have not cared one bit about everybody out there drinking water. But now that I'm almost 40, I do care about people, and I do know how important it is because when you get dehydrated, things go cattywampus really, really quick. Like before the show, I'm not sure what was going on, but Nick shows up and I looked white as a ghost because I just felt terrible. I don't know why. Drank some water, ate a little bit of food, felt better. Everybody should take care of themselves. But 124 degrees. Oof. That is hot.
I think Sam went there on a brief vacation last season, like at this point in the season.
Oh,
like last year, this time last year.
Yes,
I think.
There was also something that he did. Oh, this was earlier in spring training when he took a day off and he went to go get to a spa. It's something a guy named Garfield would do. But he went to a spa and it was like a torrential downpour the entire time he was there. So poor Sammy. Poor Sammy couldn't even get to a spa and enjoy the nice day. Anyway, we're not going to end up doing the Big Five per se, but we are going to check our traffic, and then I'm going to bring up some of the other news stories that are happening around sports.
From the 97.3 The Fan Traffic Center, here's Kelly Danick.
Traffic is sponsored by Valvoline. Before Mapleview. This .3 The Fan.
All right, back here in the Honesty Palace. It's getting late in the show, which means I'm getting weird behind the scenes. So if you're watching YouTube, that's why Nick's laughing. Anyway, let's see. I'm going to start with this one. And since I'm kind of by myself, I mean, I know I have Nick here, but I'm not going to go do the whole regular Big Five format. But I want to talk about something that deserves an asterisk for all time. Excuse me. Wow. Excuse me about that coughing right there. I'll be fine. This deserves an asterisk. Patrick Bertoletti wins the men's Nathan's Famous Hot Dog Contest. He ate 58, and I have no idea when this became a term, but glizzies, I know that that's a term for a hot dog. And one day someone told me, hey, you want to go get a glizzy? I really thought they were talking about drugs, to be honest. And I was like, no, I'm good. But they're like,
where I'm from, it means something much different. But
okay, let's not talk about that.
No, it's not inappropriate. I think it means a gun, but I'm not going to go down that road.
Okay. You said you weren't going to go down that road, then you went down that road.
I did. I lied.
This sounds like a Matt Skraby
But it wasn't
moment.
that ridiculous. I digress.
I know. But he ate 58 glizzies, according to ESPN, is what they said. A couple thoughts about this, and Nick, you can tell me if I'm wrong. This deserves an asterisk because Joey Chestnut was not in the competition, and we've been talking about this for weeks. And
right?
he was,
or like something of that nature.
He wasn't allowed to compete because
he
is being sponsored by a rival hot dog brand, which it's not. I think it's like it's not like real meat. Gosh, what's it called? I'm getting to the end of the week and my brain is failing me. I can't remember what it's called, but Beyond.
Like the Beyond
or
Meat.
Incredible, like something like that.
I can do some Googling.
Anyway, Joey Chestnut was not allowed to compete in this Patrick Bertoletti one. 58 is what he ate. Joey Chestnut, 2023, 62 hot dogs. 2022, 63. 2021, 76. 2020, 75. 2019, 71. 2018, 74. 2017, 72. 2016, 70. I have no idea what happened in 2015 to Joey Chestnut, but he lost that one. Matt Stoney, which is a really great last name for this sort of competition, ate 62. And then going back to 2011, Joey Chestnut has won every single Nathan's hot dog eating competition since 2011 through 2023, except for 2015. And the 58 that Patrick Bertoletti put down is impressive, but he didn't have the GOAT. He didn't have the guy who is the best eater in the world.
He was banned barred from competing in the Nathan's contest, and someone said this in the chat as well. I believe it was a Random Ham. So thank you, Random Ham, in the chat.
Oh, Impossible.
Says he was barred for Impossible after he signed an endorsement with Impossible Foods, who just recently launched a plant-based hot dog. Which
I haven't tried the specific hot dog, but I have tried plant-based burgers before. I gotta say they're pretty good. Like
they don't. They're tasty, and to me, it definitely, you can tell it's not the same thing, but it is still, it's filling. It's not like it's bad per se. I don't know. It's worth a try.
Back in the day, maybe years and years and years ago, Burger King had the Impossible Burger and the regular Whopper. So they had like an Impossible Whopper, and we were struggling for things to talk about. So I went to Burger King and I grabbed us an Impossible Whopper and a real Whopper, and we had a taste test. And both of them were delicious, but you can definitely taste which one is not the real meat.
And like, you know how when you eat food, obviously you can kind of like smell what you're eating.
Oh yeah.
And like that kind of is
that is off-putting.
Yeah.
You're like, why should it tastes like burger, but it doesn't smell like burger.
It's
I don't
a
know what to
noticeable
do
factor
here.
that your sinus definitely picks up for sure.
It is. It is definitely. Now I'm watching this video of Patrick Bertoletti, and this is my last thing on the hot dog eating competition. It is disgusting. It is so gross to watch. And like, it's not the shoving of the dogs in the mouth. It's not the drinking of the water. It's not even, no, it's the bun. The bun being wet. Ugh, makes me shiver to my spine.
Waterlogged bun.
A waterlogged bun. So I'm watching him right now. He's shoving both hot dogs in. He's dipping the bun in the water. Then he shoves the bun in his mouth, and he drinks some water to make sure that bun goes down. It is so gross to me to watch this because he's got like bun remnants all over his mouth and the front of his shirt, and it is so gross.
Overly saturated bun. And it's just it's like, what, 50 of them, right? Plus, so it's like
58.
A lot of saturated bun plus the meat itself.
It's so gross. I don't have any problems with entering a competition like that, but watching it for me is a problem. I can't watch I have a fear of how do I say this without becoming a clip? Wet bread. I have a fear of wet bread. Like say you eat a hamburger and you only eat half of it, and then you throw it in the sink for the garbage disposal, and then the bun is just like wet. I will have to leave the room for some reason. I cannot do it. It's so gross to me. But anyway, I think that hot dog eating competition was a sham yesterday. A sham, I tell you. All right, another topic we talked about earlier. Ha-Seong Kim's definitely having a weird year, but he's hit in 11 of his last 13 games, currently tied for the lead in baseball in regards to games played with 89. Jerickson Profar and Bobby Witt Jr. are the others. But the question I was going to ask originally is, do you think Kim is still a good trade piece? And my answer is, I think he is a good trade piece because I don't think that teams are scared off by his bad year, quote unquote. He's not having a bad year, but for him, he's having a down year. And I don't think necessarily that teams are going to really think, hey, this is who he is. And this is the guy that we don't want on our team because this is who we're going to acquire if we were to sign him. I still think that he is a good trade piece. I don't think I want to see him go. I don't. And the reason is because at times he's struggled, but this year his defense and last year his defense is solid. And you can count on Ha-Seong Kim to play every single day. And what's the phrase we always say? Your best ability is your availability. And that's what Ha-Seong Kim is. He's available. And he's always going to play. He's eaten up a little bit. I think that Ha-Seong Kim is still a good trade piece. And again, I let time run out on me. So we'll talk more about that. And we will hear from Jerks and Profar talking about his All-Star game selection. So Sammy Garfield Levitt did go down there and talk to Jerks and Profar. We'll talk more about some of the news of the day, and we will hear from Stephen Kolek at 5:20 on 97.3 The Fan.
Twain.
Oh, look! Here comes our fearless producer!
Gwen and Chris starts right now on 97.3 The Fan.
Final 35 minutes of the Skraby Show, which is normally known as Gwen and Chris, and we'll be back as Gwen and Chris on Monday. Thank you to everyone who has been joining me today. It's been a really fast show. Thank you to Nick for running the board. He's keeping me sane over here. We have in this segment, we're going to be hearing from Mike Schilt. We're also going to be hearing from Jerks and Profar. Plus, we still have some of those other topics that I didn't really get to talk about today, like Aaron Judge's hitting coach going on X and replying to a tweet basically saying, hey, Aaron Judge is great. The rest of the team stinks. So we'll talk about that. We'll also get into the interview we did with Stephen Kolek a little bit earlier. We'll do that at 5:20. But we are going to hear from Jerks and Profar first. Actually, I want to say that I am impressed with how many people are in the chat today, how many people are tweeting me today, how many people are listening today, because today it's a holiday basically.
A nice little 500 and change.
Right now. Look at the roads out there. The roads are clear right now.
Nice,
and anytime I look out
on
the 15 South from the window, you can see it. I always see it backed up.
No, to your point, every time like I come in here, the northbound is fine, southbound is a mess.
Yeah.
But that's to be expected because that's just how traffic flows in this place.
Nick lives. I almost gave where you live, but you live in the South Bay, so you have quite the drive. And
I live in Chula, but I'm just about to move. Luckily, so my commute will be much
so no one
shorter.
Stalk him. No one stalk him. No one wait outside of his car and follow him home or anything. Like that.
I started my career out here in Chula, and I'll be up in closer to this area. I won't give myself away that much.
Okay, you don't want to give your address on the air. All right, let's see. Where do I want to go with this? Well, let's just go to Jerks and Profar because the Jerks and Profar season is magical, as we said. But I really think that it's very awesome that he's able to make the All-Star team, be a starter, and then do it at the place it all began. And the media, this is their first opportunity to talk to Jerks and Profar since he's been named the starter for the All-Star team. And he was kind of asked what it was all like and what his son thought. And here he is talking to the media.
I'm very happy.
Very happy?
Yes.
What was your son's reaction when you told him?
He was very happy too, jumping around.
A lot of people are talking about that full circle moment, getting to go back kind of where it all began, and for your first All-Star appearance. Have you thought about that at all?
No.
What are you looking forward to the most about doing it, especially in Texas?
Everything. For my son, it's going to be a really happy moment. Just, I think, watching the home run derby with him. Yes.
How many times did your son vote in this process?
I don't know.
How special is it for you? You were voted as a starter, but also Fernando, even though he cannot go ahead and play. Two teammates representing the Padres in the All-Star game.
Yes, it's something, very special for us. We work out together, in the off season, pushing each other, every day, and to go to the All-Star game, that's something pretty special.
When you think about where you were.
That was Jerks and Profar with the media before the game today, and maybe he's all like partied out. Maybe he's just ready to play some baseball now and roll his way into the All-Star break. But this is something that he has obviously wanted all season long. This is something that his young son has wanted for his dad all season long. So I'm sure that everybody who is a Padres fan has seen Jerks and Profar's son campaigning for him to become an All-Star. And now he has, and like you heard him say right there, the fun moment's going to be watching the home run derby with him on the field. That is awesome. I have my issues with the home run derby, but if you are Jerks and Profar and his son getting to sit there and watch it firsthand, up close and personal, that's some really cool stuff. I like how the question was asked, how many times did your son vote? And he said he doesn't know. I would venture to guess 5 times per day is what his son is voting. Then
get the max number in there.
The max number.
As often as possible.
Yeah, the max number for sure. And maybe he even like opened up some other burner emails to vote or something like that. But with Fernando making it, with Jerks Profar making it, with Robert Suarez making it, it's, I don't know if we would have thought 3 guys would have made the All-Star team at certain points in this season, but they have, and they're all deserving of it for sure. Fernando, I mean, the guy's playing on a broken leg. And I know Mike Schilt said yesterday, and Ben Higgins tweeted it out, so I'm going off of Ben Higgins' tweet, but he's a very good source, so I can do that. Mike Schilt said basically Fernando Tatis Jr. has made the All-Star team with a broken leg that he's been playing on all year, and that's incredible. My question is, like, why? Actually, you know what I want to do because I don't really want to criticize Fernando, because I think if he did have a broken leg, then maybe there should have been some IL time before, but he was still playing well and he was trying to play through it. I don't know what the right answer is for when you're supposed to protect a player from themselves and when you're supposed to let the player decide for themselves. And the team let the player decide for himself, and I have no issue with Fernando trying to push through it, but if this is something that's been bothering him all year and obviously hurt some production at some point, I think I just think that maybe healing would have been the best thing. And we've seen Joe Musgrove this year already say that in the past he would have tried to push through an injury, which would make the injury worse. But this time he sat down with everyone who is, privy of these decisions. And he said the best course of action is for me to get better now and for me to go on the IL and open up another roster spot for someone. But it's like Fernando is so good. So good. It's really difficult for you to try to take him out of the lineup. I mean, if he wants to play, if he can play, and I know on the chat they're saying you can't play through a broken leg. When I say broken leg,
it's a very small fracture to his femur, I believe, in his right leg,
which is a broken leg.
No, absolutely, it is. It's
I'm
not an
not sure
exaggeration.
of which leg it is, but that's what Mike Schilt was saying. He's playing on a broken leg. Definition: he does have a broken leg, but I'm not going to take anything away from it either, because I'm sure the pain is there and all that. But I just don't know.
That's a lot different from a sore quad.
It's way different from a sore quad.
I'm sure he's a tough kid, dude. That probably hurts, and he's probably been It's not like you're just walking around on the outfield, right? It's a pretty laborious position in terms of how much field you need to cover. So
oh yeah, I mean the guy's running all over the place.
Credit on that one.
I give him credit too. I do, and he did pick it up there at the end, and he was really good. In the last 3 weeks, he was on a hot streak of all hot streaks. But I just hope that he's going to be back soon. And it just so happens that the media asked Mike Schilt about Joe Musgrove and Fernando Tatis Jr., and here's what he said.
Looks good. I've watched him. I've heard reports. He's been able to long toss, able to have a little bit of intensity behind it. Is recovering well, so he's at the very early stages of playing catch, and like I say, lengthening it out and being a little bit more aggressive with his catch play. All the things are favorable, but there's still a road ahead.
Last question regarding the people. Anybody in the pen unavailable today? And I'm thinking in particular about Estrada, who's coming off the flu, and I know we got some work in for you recently.
Now we had a couple guys go back to back, and we'll just determine that after they play catch today.
How about Toddy? Anything more specific?
No, nothing. Other than he's starting to move and walk and do some things that are just everyday things without any discomfort, so that's a positive. So signs of healing. But beyond that, nothing else. He's in that rest mode still, and we'll evaluate from there.
Darvish should be needed for the All-Star break, right?
No.
Toddy unlikely to play in the All-Star game?
I would say that's pretty accurate, yes.
And as for the corresponding move, our pay grade's the only one that matters. So if you want to say it.
Yeah, well, you have, but I got to answer the people that have signed my checks. Yeah, so trust me, Bernie, I get it. Yeah.
How do you envision the playing time split at catcher?
I think we'll play it by ear a little bit. I mean, Hickey's in there tonight, and we got Waldron tomorrow, so you can grab your own deduction there, and Campy will play at some point in the series.
Sounds like Campy, he may have been able to come back before the 10 days, but the stint on the IL, just being able to ease off a little bit when he's gone so hard, could that be a benefit for him, big picture?
Yeah, I think it could be a benefit. I don't think that was. The reason for him extending was not extra rest. I mean, he got 10 days. He's a young guy. Even before that, we were splitting the time to your initial question. So I feel like he's in a good place with his workload. It was, the extension of the time was to A, make sure it healed, and then B, after that healing process took place, which took about the full 10 days, to go play and, catch and swing the bat and make sure, you were recovering and weren't going to have any setbacks.
There was a lot in that little clip right there to unpack. First, Joe Musgrove is playing some long toss, so it looks like he's progressing in the right direction. He was asked about Yu Darvish. Is he unlikely to be back with the team before the All-Star break? And he said yes. Is Fernando going to be playing in the All-Star game? The answer is basically no. They didn't say definitively no, but I think all of us know that it's a no. And I think that's the big ones right there. I am really worried about Yu Darvish. I don't understand, and I'm not going to criticize anyone because these things get worse over time, and so you just don't know if he was feeling better and he woke up one day and then all of a sudden his elbow was hurting him again. I can tell you with my shoulder surgery, some days, I had it 3 weeks ago, and I'm still in a little bit of pain. So some days it's great. Some days it hurts a lot. And it's just depending on what I do when I'm sleeping, if I roll on that shoulder, stuff like that. But it makes me nervous that Yu Darvish has not been back yet. Because originally it was something, I believe, that was small. And now it's become something where he's missing a lot of games. I do like to hear that Joe Musgrove is coming back. And I do like to hear that Fernando is going to be, okay. He's not going to play in the All-Star game, but he'll be back this season. Also, the other thing that he said was Luis Campusano. He has been reinstated from the 10-day IL, and they optioned Eggy Rosario to AAA El Paso. So poor Eggy Rosario gets sent back to AAA, but we'll see him soon. Luis Campusano, though, interesting. If I'm doing this in my head correctly, they have, I guess, decided to keep 3 catchers on the team, because I don't see anywhere that Brett Sullivan has been put down, and I'm just looking on Twitter right now because that's usually where I get my news, and I just don't see anything about him. So they're going to have 3 catchers for now, which is fine. It's all good. But Luis Campusano goes back to what we talked about earlier. Where is he going to go? What are they going to do? And we'll have to figure that out as they go. But the Padres do have a favorable schedule here heading into the All-Star break. They have 3 against the Diamondbacks here, and everything's at home before the All-Star break. They have 3 against the Diamondbacks. They have a day off on Monday, 2 against the Mariners, day off on Thursday, 3 against the Braves, and then the All-Star break. So they got some good days off here. When they come out of the All-Star break, they are on the road for, a week and a half. And they are going to be playing some difficult teams. I think I'm looking at the schedule from 20 feet away. But I know they're playing Cleveland on the road to start the second half. And then they do have a pretty tough schedule after the All-Star break, just coming out of the All-Star break. So lots of season left, but I think the Padres are in a good spot right now. And that's not me, according to the tweeter from earlier. That's not me being a Padres homer. I definitely feel that they're in a good spot right now. What was the show name, Nick? I got to go back to my tweet to make sure.
I just lost concentration. I won't lie. What were we discussing?
The guy who told me what the new show name was. Oh yes, it's the Glorified Padres Homer with Zero Baseball Knowledge show. So there you go. And honestly, I'm just having fun with it. I'm not being serious.
That's the right thing to do, young Mr. Skraby.
Yeah. Are you calling me a young Padawan or something because it's a Star Wars weekend?
I mean, sure, you could look at it like that. That wasn't my intent, but we can lump that in there. Why not?
Nick seems like a Star Wars guy. Is that true, Nick?
I do like that series, yes. But I'm more of a classicalist, like the older movies, to be honest. The only newer ones I really like are Rogue One
Ooh, Rogue One's a good one.
I like that one. I haven't seen the Han one yet.
I like that one. Solo.
I do want to see it. I just haven't done that one yet, but
I know it's kind of sacrilege to like Solo, but I enjoyed Solo. As a non-hardcore Star Wars guy, it was a good movie. I understand that they took liberties with the story, but I mean, aren't they kind of just making up the story as it goes because it wasn't written?
Yeah.
I know that they have a ton of books out there with maybe some origin story, but I don't think George Lucas had a whole map of what's going on with Han Solo. Okay, we're getting way off base here. We're getting way off base here. We are coming into the final segment, or going into the final segment of the show. We're going to be talking with Stephen Kolek when we get back. He joined us earlier for Friar Friday. And then some of these other topics that I never got to, which is a good thing, meaning that I had a lot to talk about today. I'm going to try to quickly get some of those in before the end of the show. And then you will be hearing from Sammy Garfield Levitt on the EcoWater SoCal Padres pregame show at 5:40. I really hope he knows I'm calling him Garfield before people start calling him Garfield at the park or something like that. But we'll be back shortly. Stephen Kolek on the other side, 97.3 The Fan. right, final segment of today's Gwynn and Chris. Again, Chris and Tony back on Monday. We're scheduled to actually have a few Aztec football players in studio for Monday. So scheduled being the key word, things can change, but we might be talking to some of those guys and talk about the season that's upcoming for the Aztecs football team. But right now, it's Friar Friday, and we earlier talked to Padres reliever Stephen Kolek, and here is what he talked to us about. But right now, I am very excited and would like to bring on Stephen Kolek, Padres relieving pitcher here on Friar Friday. And Stephen, thank you so much for joining us today on July 5th, the day after July 4th, as everybody knows. Appreciate your time.
Hey, thank you for having me on.
Yeah, I just wanted to actually talk real quick first about your last series. You guys took 2 of 3 from the defending champs, but this series was actually for you personally much bigger because you are a Texas guy. You got to pitch in front of your family this week. I can't even imagine. What was that like to pitch in front of your family?
Oh man, it was a dream come true. I had probably 60 or so people come out over that weekend or those 3 days, and to have a lot of people from my hometown come up, and then all the people from my side of the family, and then my wife's side of the family that we've gotten so close with over the years since we've been together, and to have everybody there supporting me and just to be a part of it with me, it meant the world to me.
I'm sure it meant the world to you. 60 people is a lot of people to support you. Do you get a little nervous when your family was there? Like, I think I would be more comfortable without my family there, but do you pitch better when your family's in the stands watching?
It definitely brings a different edge to it because, you never want to disappoint them. And being that was the first time that a lot of them have gotten to see me in probably 10 years, from high school or maybe a little less time from college. But the first time they've gotten to really see me pitch professionally, is a lot of pressure and a lot of build up to it. So it's like definitely I feel like the urge to perform more, but really it's just trying to calm the nerves and just get the job done and stay to the routine. Don't do anything too extra.
We're talking to Stephen Kolek right now, Padres relieving pitcher on 97.3 The Fan for Friar Friday, and you had a really, really great June. I think you only gave up 1 run in the month of June, and you were talking about stay with the routine, just do what you know what you're doing. But how do you keep doing that on a day in and day out basis? Because with success, for me at least, I tend to kind of, fade out on doing everything I need to be doing to be successful. But how do you keep your focus on being successful each and every outing?
Really, kind of, I talk a lot about the routine, and that to me is everything. And it's not getting, too far. It's not live or die. That if you don't do exactly your routine one day, you're gonna have a bad day. Like you can have a bad routine day and still manage to get through it. But when you stack up those little victories of just kind of checks in the boxes of things you need to get done and stay true to yourself. You don't have to overdo it. Just stay true to that and surround yourself with good people. And that's what we have a lot of here is great teammates and people to help get you to where you need to be mentally and physically.
I want to talk about one of those great teammates right now. We're talking to Stephen Kolek right now for Friar Friday, and Jurickson Profar. He has been incredible for this team this year, and he has become somewhat of a de facto leader of the team. What kind of leader is Jurickson? What do we not see that we should know about him?
Jurickson, he's a great guy. I mean, he's so much fun to watch on the field, and he brings so much of that energy that y'all see on the field. He brings that in the locker room too. And when you see somebody having that kind of success, it just makes you want to work a little bit harder and follow his footsteps and try and be there with him. And then he's picking us up all the time, so you never want to let him down. So you just try and motivate you to be a little bit better every day.
What was that moment like for you as a clubhouse when Jurickson was announced as the starter for the National League team?
Yeah, I think it was no surprise to us. I mean, that guy, he's been killing it all year, and I think everybody would have been pretty upset if he wasn't. So everybody was extremely excited for him, and we gave him a big round of applause and many congratulations. So, again, super happy for the guy.
Yeah, we're talking to Stephen Kolek, and we want to get back to you, Stephen, because a few weeks ago, maybe even closer to a month ago, you were called into a game against the A's. Bases were loaded, nobody out. I was nervous sitting watching the game. I'm sure that you were doing your routine, but you got out of that inning without giving up a run. So my question to you is, like, when you're called upon to come into a game that has such a high leverage spot like you were in, how does you already told me it's all about the routine, it's all about staying within yourself, but what's your mindset coming into a situation like that, knowing that if you give up a run, it might end up losing the game?
Yeah, I mean, those thoughts are definitely easy to keep into the head, but really I try and do my best to focus on that pitch right there. And I know the moment's huge. I know it's a big situation, but I sound like a broken record right now.
No.
It's staying within yourself is for me, that's the key, is not letting myself get like overly excited or too down on myself. It's just trying to find that right amount of energy and focus that I need to have. And it's easy to get sped up in those situations, but if you know where that concentration level needs to be at, it's just executing that one pitch at a time, and thankfully we were able to get out of that unscathed.
Yeah, we're talking to Stephen Kolek here, Padres relieving pitcher for the Friar Friday is what I'm trying to say here. And your team is playing really well right now. You guys just got back from a road trip where you won 2 series and you went 4-2. What is I don't want to ask what's changed, because I don't think necessarily anything's changed, but when you start winning, like, it's infectious, but what can you guys take from the role that you're on right now and try to continue that throughout the rest of the season?
Yeah, we're playing some great baseball right now, and I'd say we're pretty hot. And we've played some great competition, and we've been up and we've been down, and still managed to find a way to come through to get a victory. So I think from that, it shows a lot of grit and determination to win amongst the team, and we know that we can in any situation. So it's just a matter of getting the job done.
Talking to Stephen Kolek. And last question for me, Stephen. Thank you so much for joining us here on Friday Friday. I know you got a lot going on down at the ballpark, but there's a lot of haters out there. There's a lot of people that want to see the Padres fail. There's a lot of people within baseball that want to see the Padres fail. But you guys are not listening to that. You guys are continuing to play your good stuff. But as a team, I'm sure that individually there's something different. But as a team, how do you guys block out the noise?
I think, we get so busy, like you said, we're busy here at the field all the time, and everybody, you go in the locker room, everybody's busy doing something with their own routines, and I think that's probably part of it, is if we just stay busy and you keep your head down and you keep working hard, and you do start doing the little things, the rest of that background noise just kind of goes away, and before you know it, we're hot and we're playing well and looking to make a late season run here,
Oh, yeah, absolutely. You guys are definitely doing that right now. Well, thank you so much, Stephen, for joining us here on Friar Friday. I appreciate your time, and I wish you continued success with the Padres.
Thank you so much. Thanks for having me on again.
Of course. Thank you for joining us. I said thanks you for joining us. I know I'm hard on myself, but I cringe listening to myself sometimes. I should be nicer to myself. That was Stephen Kolek. He was great. He had some good answers. He had some good insight, and seems like a really good dude. So thank you to Stephen for joining the show, and thank you to the Padres for helping me out with Stephen Kolek. Now, we have just a couple minutes left before we get you to Sammy Garfield-Levitt's Padres or Eco Water SoCal Padres pregame show here on 97.3 The Fan, but I just wanted to finish with a couple of the stories that we never got to today. And the first one is going to be about the Yankees. And someone from X, John from Maspeth, I'm sure it's part of New York or whatever, has called for something. A Fire Aaron Boone night, Friday, July 19th versus Tampa Bay. We demand a manager with accountability. That's what he wrote in his post. I think this is completely 100% ridiculous. I think they're 19 games over 500 coming into today. They have struggled lately, 2-8 in their last 10, but and I know that there's been a question leading up to each season about Aaron Boone and whether or not he should be the manager of the Yankees, but calling him for him to be fired 19 games over 500 is absolutely insane to me. And it shows me that it doesn't matter what team you're a fan of out there for baseball, everybody's a psychotic lunatic, including myself. I might even step to the front of the line of being a psychotic lunatic, but to fire Aaron Boone is crazy. Here's the other topic I want to talk about, because Aaron Judge's personal hitting coach took to X to defend Aaron Judge. He said in a message posted by the Yes Network, it was posted with highlighting Judge's statistics and Yankees victories, and his hitting coach, all I have right here is the last name of Schneck. He posted from his account saying, quote, "They've lost 13 out of 18 while he's hitting like an MVP. The Yankees offensive player development is terrible." Now, that's the end quote. Now, they went to Aaron Judge and they asked him about this, and this answer disappoints me. Aaron Judge said, quote, "It doesn't involve me, to be honest. It's somebody else making a comment. I'm not going to comment for somebody else. I've got no control over what another person does. It's out of my control. I've got nothing for you." That disappoints me, because Aaron Judge, in my eyes, you couldn't be more wrong. You absolutely have all the control. You tell this guy to stay off of X, he's going to stay off of X. He doesn't want to lose Aaron Judge as one of his students. And you got to protect your team. You have to protect your team, Aaron Judge. And maybe this is a message to the organization or whatever, but Aaron Judge seems like a real stand-up dude. He seems like a guy that will have your back no matter what. But this does not sit well with me, and it's a very small comment in the many comments that are made throughout a baseball season. But saying that it doesn't involve you and you can't control anybody else, I don't buy. You can control what people say, Aaron Judge. You can 100% control what people say, Aaron Judge. He's pretty cool otherwise, I think. All right, that's it for the show. Thank you to everybody who has joined us today, and thank you to Nick for running the board. Thank you to Stephen Kolek. Thank you to everyone for joining. Next up, Sammy Garfield Levitt with the Eco Water SoCal Padres pregame show on 97.3 The Fan. Talk to you Monday.